Why should you be able to have explicitly like sexual thoughts about somebody that doesn't present themselves in that way?
I think the default should be anything. You can think about anything you want, and it's the onus on somebody else to say why you shouldn't be able to think about a thing. You should be able to imagine whatever you want, and if you shouldn't be allowed to, somebody else should have to say, right? Because if we have the domain of anything, it should be of things in our mind, right? Let her run the thought train down instead of 5 other people jumping in.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
When you're trying to look like Katniss Everdeen, you're not trying to look like Katniss Everdeen. You're trying to look like Jennifer Lawrence's portrayal of Katniss Everdeen.
Well, Katniss Everdeen has features that everybody can take, including Jennifer Lawrence. So Katniss Everdeen has the braid, has the green shirt, has the leather pants, whatever. Yes. Let me finish.
Dunked on by Vosh than I would about a...
I have actually changed my mind on this. I think that making deepfake porn of someone is weird, but morally neutral unless you tell other people about it or other people know about that deepfake porn. If it's just something that you have for your own personal use, I have no problem with it.
Okay.
I disagree.
Hi, what's up, Pixie? Wait, did you have anything you wanted to get out of your off your chest?
No, I was just getting that off my chest.
Well, hold on. What changed your mind? You can't just say I changed my mind and then not say what changed your mind. What changed your mind?
Previously I thought making deepfake porn of somebody else is wrong because you don't have their consent. But what changed my mind is I started thinking about how often do we seek people's consent when we think about them, right? When we think normal things about them. We don't need consent to think about people. And certainly there are a lot of people in the world who don't get people's consent before they jerk off to the thought of them, right? So making deepfake porn of somebody, as long as it's only for your personal use and nobody else gets access to it, then I guess I don't really see what would be wrong with that. I guess it's kind of like an expression of your thoughts.
Okay. I don't.
Why? Because I'm not f***ing delusional.
At
the time, there was.
I don't have ultra strong thoughts on this yet, so I'm listening and I'm learning. But okay, I'm acknowledging what you're saying. Gotcha. What did you want, Pixie?
So I kind of disagree with the take that it's morally neutral as long as a person doesn't know about it. And the reason why I think this is because I do think there's a difference between just using your imagination and then purposely trying to make it as close to a physical reality as you possibly can.
Wait, can you specify what close to physical reality? What does that mean?
It means that you're never going to get into that person's pants or whatever, or be able to see them in that sexual context. They're not going to make that content. So you're going to make it as realistic as you possibly can to see them in that context in real life, like a physical proponent to it, than just imagining it in your head. You're actually materializing something.
Why is it any worse to draw something or deepfake something versus imagining it?
Because it seems like this is kind of complicated to explain. It seems like there's a barrier or boundary that you cross when you're just imagining something versus actually taking steps to it. So a similar example, I guess, or analogy or whatever, would be the difference between intrusive thought, or not even intrusive, let's say I want to kill this person, they're annoying me, versus writing it down in your notebook exactly how you're going to do it, buying the knives, buying the rope, buying all the materials you possibly need.
But buying those materials is not it doesn't seem analogous to making a deepfake porn of somebody.
Wait, let's back up. Let's just focus on this initial thing. I think that this is disanalogous because an intrusive thought versus a highly detailed plan are two different things. If you had an intrusive thought and you wrote those intrusive thoughts down, I think that would be similar, but I don't think people would care either way. So for instance, let's say that I thought that I hate this person, I want to kill him, and I just had a notebook where I wrote down intrusive thoughts. I don't think anybody would care that much about the difference between the two. Unless they found it, they might figure it's kind of weird, but...
Well, the point is that when you're making a deepfake, you are taking it a step further. You're actually to me, the deepfake, actually making the deepfake, is going from just thinking it in your head, writing it down privately, to material steps to then commit the murder or whatever.
What do you mean? What is committing the murder in this analogy, though? Like raping the person or having sex with them, or?
It's getting as close as you possibly can. So you might not actually rape the person, but the point is that you don't really care about whether they're comfortable being seen in that specific light or not. You're trying to get as close as you can.
What?
Instead of
I don't understand how deep fake gets you any closer to having sex with a person as.
no viewing them in that sexual, or not viewing them in that sexual light, viewing them in that, or maybe intimate light is the right word. I'm not sure. But for example, when you're doing the deep fake porn, when you're putting that person's like face on there, rendering it so that the images like match the face, all that shit, you are basically, you'd want to see porn of them. You'd want to record it if you could. You'd want the real thing, but you can't get the real thing. And instead of being content with that or making it stay in your imagination, you feel like you have to take actual steps in reality to see that, even though they're not comfortable with that.
I guess I'm just not saying how that's meaningfully different than having like a detailed fantasy of that person.
Yeah, you don't ask people's consent to fantasize about them.
You don't feel like or you don't see like there's a difference between just, in your mental realm versus putting the work and the effort and the time in to make it some sort of physical reality?
I think a lot of people, I think there are, so the example that got me thinking about this is there are a lot of dudes, I'm sure, and ladies who have jerked off to like a safe for work picture of somebody that person has posted on social media, right?
I assume so, sure.
Yeah. And generally it's not I hear an echo. That's generally not like, it's not an issue unless you tell somebody that you did that, right? It only becomes weird when you tell that person, but you don't ever ask for that person's consent when you do something like that. Like most, like, young people who are doing stupid stuff like that, they don't think about whether the person wants to be objectified, wants to be sexualized by them. They just are in their head. So I just don't see, if somebody makes a deep fake and it's only for their own personal use and nobody else ever sees it, it's something that they did in their own privacy and with their own thoughts.
Okay, I'm about to. The line or the scenarios I'm gonna propose to you guys are gonna seem completely different and out of nowhere, but I promise they'll tie together. Let's say you have a friend. They sleep naked. You're staying in the same house or whatever, and you go at night and you take a photo of them naked, and they never find out. Would that be okay?
No.
Why would it not be okay?
Because you're like actually taking a picture of them for something that I imagine they're trying to conceal.
Okay. Now let's say it turns out that, it was night, it was dark, it was a mannequin. It turns out the person wasn't sleeping in that bed, they were sleeping somewhere else, but you took a photo of the mannequin instead, but you thought it was that person. Would it be okay then?
No.
Why?
The intentionality of the action still makes the action itself wrong. The outcome is almost irrelevant. So for instance, let's say I really wanted to murder somebody and I walked into a bedroom and I started stabbing a bed, but it was just a bunch of pillows. The action was still attempted murder, in my opinion. So this would still be you doing a wrong thing. I guess the ultimate outcome wouldn't have been a bad thing committed, but the action itself was still probably wrong.
Okay. So to me, it's the action of creating deepfakes, not necessarily the jerking off to it, that is wrong. Because the action of creating a deepfake is literally trying to place the image as realistically as possible, to see that person nude, even though they don't want to show you themselves nude.
Yeah, but you're not seeing them nude. You're just fantasizing about it.
This is a technicality, right?
Well, no. Hold on, wait. It's not a technicality. It is like the most important point. Because if this was capturing a nude photo of somebody, I think ubiquitously we would all say this is a creep shot. It's a candid image. That's bad. I don't think it's a technicality. I think it's probably one of the most important central points of this whole thing, right?
Yeah, no, but the reason why I perceive it as a technicality is because the whole idea is that your brain is not actually processing this deepfake as a separate person. You're not just processing this as like, the body of a separate porn star and then the face of, the streamer I want to see. You're processing it as a streamer. Otherwise, there would have been no reason to create the deepfake in the first place. The reason that your face on there is because your brain is processing it as that person.
Sure, I understand, but I think it's still meaningfully different. Like if nude pictures of somebody got leaked and then nude deepfakes of somebody got leaked, I think that the feeling would be completely different. Like, yeah, like the deep fakes would be bad and people would be annoyed at that, but like the nude pictures would be actual images of them.
Yeah, and I would say it's not the idea that this is that they're perceiving this as the streamer isn't the part that is the issue. The issue is, are you involving somebody in a sexual act that they didn't consent to? If you are just jerking off to like pictures of a deep fake that you made on your own time, you're not involving that other person. But if you tell them about it, or if you actually have their actual nude pictures, then you are involving them in it.
Okay, there's like two separate arguments going on. There's one that's like, okay, this is not bad because the consequence, it only matters basically if it's a consequence of them getting hurt. If they don't get hurt, no harm, no foul. I think the action in itself is wrong, because I think even if the person doesn't find out, you're still trying to get an image of them that they wouldn't be okay with either way.
I don't know how you're not. I don't know how you can't retroactively think that, like, if you apply that there, then fantasizing about someone necessarily follows as being wrong, right? Like, I don't want to have sex with you, and I don't want you to think about having sex with me, but you're doing it, and you're imagining a scenario that I don't even want you to imagine. How could that not be the next thing?
Well, I think to be fair, I do think that's kind of wrong. Especially if the person has voiced, oh, I don't want to be seen this way. Like, I don't want people to jerk off to me this way, and you're still doing it, then yeah, like, I still think it's wrong. But I think there's still like degrees of wrong, right? I think one can be, okay, like, it's creepy, whatever, you shouldn't do that. But then there is taking more physical steps where it becomes like even more grossly wrong. So I think.
Do you think that all forms of like fantasies against somebody's consent would be considered wrong? So, for instance, I'm going to assume that you don't want somebody to murder you, but let's say I get really fucking annoyed talking to you, and in my head I have like a detailed fantasy of like, I want to fucking kill you. Is that like morally wrong because I'm doing a fantasy that person wouldn't consent to in real life? Or because I feel like at that point, like, all fantasies where the person wouldn't in real life allow it basically become wrong at that point?
I think fantasies where you are basically harming the person in a way, or that could lead to harm to the person, realistically would be considered wrong. So I feel like even if you're, fantasizing about a consensual sex with somebody else, if that person is like, oh my god, that's technically not possible because they've said it to you many times. Oh no, like, I'm not okay with this. This is something I'm not okay with. I don't think all fantasies are wrong either. I'm trying to think about how to phrase this.
I think that's kind of where you're at, though. You're at essentially that, like, fantasies are wrong. Most fantasies are usually things that other people don't consent to, right? That's kind of why they're fantasies. It might be like killing somebody, it might be fucking somebody, it might be owning someone in a work argument or at school or something, or running over a teacher if you hate him, right? Like, most fantasies are generally things, or a lot of fantasies at least, are generally things that we can't do in real life because people wouldn't be okay with it. But I feel like we're in a weird world where, like, we've created, I guess when I think of bad actions, I'm trying to usually think of like some type of either harm or like attempted harm, and I just don't see any harm here at all. Like, who's getting hurt? And hurt here can be like a violation of somebody's like autonomy as well. So like breaking into somebody's house, breaking into somebody's car, getting a picture of like somebody's body, like doing something like that, like their person. Like I could extend harm to mean those things too, but when we're talking about things that exist like purely in the mind or things that don't involve like violating the other person's autonomy.
But you don't think it's an attempt at all? Because I think like, oh yeah, like, you're trying to get as close as you can to see that person's body or to see them in that sexual context.
When you say get as close as possible, I feel like there's a big intuition pump where that sounds bad. Getting as close as possible to seeing somebody naked, that sounds really bad. But I think that's because what you're pumping there is the feeling of like getting a picture of them coming right out of the shower, or getting a picture of them coming right out of a locker room, or taking a picture. Like, that's what it feels like when you say getting close to. But in this sense, we're not actually getting close at all. If anything, you could say you're getting farther away from it, because now you're focused on like doing a drawing or a picture rather than getting more like real pictures of them. So that phrase, like getting close to, feels not good. Yeah.
And also, if anything, the underlying porn star, or like the producers of the original porn, with, you know, the people underneath the face that you've replaced, if anything, those people have had their intellectual property possibly like violated, right?
Well, I think legal arguments are a totally separate thing, right?
Yeah, it could be still like seen as like not morally good.
Mm-hmm.
to me, I guess it doesn't seem like such a big jump because you're already going, you're already violating that person's boundary in a way of using their images, not just using their images in a way that they didn't consent, but you're actually rendering them onto something that is completely like beyond. I guess maybe I'm just repeating myself, but it just seems like if a fantasies and okay, here I have it. If fantasies and like deep fake porn are basically the same thing, then why aren't people satisfied with just the fantasy? Why do they have to go to the extent of creating a deep fake porn?
Well, when you say basically the same thing, we're also intuition pumping. They're basically the same thing in that they're in the same category of thing, right? Like compared to a horse, a Volkswagen and a BMW are basically the same thing. They're cars, right? But Volkswagen cars and BMW cars are way different, right? Much the same that like for a fantasy, like a deep fake and jerking off to the thought of somebody is the same thing in that they're both fantasies, but the two fantasies are different, whereas some fantasies are better than others. A fanfic or a deep fake is going to be better than like an image in your mind or like an Instagram picture, right?
Okay, why do you think it's better?
Probably because there's more stimulus. You get like a visual component as well.
Okay, I think that might be where like the biggest contention lies for me, because it's this whole idea of like, oh yeah, it's not just more stimulus, but and maybe we're just going in circles and it's just an intuition pump, but it seems like taking the steps to get that more stimulus is already crossing a line, rather than just having it be in your head.
What if somebody's like scrolling through somebody's Instagram to try to find like the sexiest bikini pictures possible? Is that like bad or?
Yeah, I think that's weird.
Well, I didn't ask weird. Don't care about weird. I'm asking if it's like immoral. Bad.
Yeah, I think if you're, I think I have to think about this a little bit more, but I feel like there is something bad about going to somebody's Instagram and trying to find the sexiest photo of them to jerk off to.
So is every like 14-year-old boy who like jerked off to his favorite like his favorite pop star, have they done something morally wrong now?
Yeah,
Like
I think from her point of view, yeah, I would say so. Wait, here's something I'm interested though. What is the difference between digging through pictures for sexual gratification versus digging through just for like aesthetic enjoyment? Like, so for instance, you would say it's bad to dig through a girl's like bikini photos to go jerk off them on Instagram. Would it be bad for a girl to just go like look at old pictures of a guy because she thinks he's really hot, but she's not going to masturbate to it?
Yeah, no, that's a societal question.
Wait, not societal. I'm asking you particularly what you think.
I know. I'm gonna segue into that. Just give me a second to preface. Okay. So I think as a society as a whole, we have like very intimate or personal beliefs when it comes to the idea of sex and sexual relationships. We classify that as a category that is very separate from just looking at someone or just seeing something as interesting or fun to look at or hot or whatever. There's a level of intimacy there that I don't think is there when it comes to just pure like general aesthetic purposes.
I think I would break down all of these words because I think it's important to figure out what you mean when you say this. There's an intimacy to a sexual act, but not to porn, I don't think, or fantasies.
I think when you're consuming porn with the intent of that porn being or I guess maybe not, because there's this is so complicated because you have porn stars, right? Whose job is to produce porn, and it's okay to watch them in that context. But that's because they're marketing themselves towards that way. So I don't know if there's really an intimacy in watching a porn star. I think there is intimacy in watching someone that usually doesn't do that stuff, because they're showing you a side.
Well, let's define it. When you say intimacy, what do you mean by intimacy? Let's define that.
It means that it is more personal because they are showing they're showing a side of themselves that they usually wouldn't show other people.
Okay, but they're not actually showing you that. You're imagining it, right? Like, does a photograph, like, let's say I look at a picture of somebody in a swimsuit and then I masturbate to it. Did the photograph become more intimate because I masturbated to it?
No. But what I think or the reason why my brain is processing these two things differently than a deep fake is that when it comes to a deep fake, you are literally rendering the previous images of a person onto a porn star body so you can view them as like that porn star as said person
Yeah,
versus
but
just a random image.
sure.
It's like there's an intentionality there.
Yeah, of course. You're intending to, because you want to masturbate to it. I'm just trying to figure out, like, I'm trying to figure out how the person is being harmed. Like, where's the harm?
Well, I like, at least what I'm thinking is that there's kind of something really unsettling over the fact that you don't want to be perceived like this by the vast majority of people, and you know what's going to happen anyways, whatever. But then people are trying to take it, and I know you're saying this is intuition pump, but it really does seem like there's a difference in level here.
Do you
where
think
people-
that when you say people are worried about the perception of others, do you think you have a right to the perception of yourself in other people's minds?
Not 100%, but you do have a right to how your image is, like, to an extent. So, for example, I'm thinking about like Ariana Grande and the fact that she sued Forever 21 for like $10 million because they used her image for their products, for their
Yeah,
marketing.
that's boring legal shit, of course. Yeah,
No, I know that's boring legal shit. But the reason why I bring it up is because it seems like we as a society acknowledge to a certain extent that you have a right to how your image is used in certain contexts. Maybe not all contexts, but in certain contexts.
Well, yeah, but that another reason why I say boring legal stuff is because this isn't like a public like profit setting too. Like privately, you could probably do whatever, but in a public profit setting, it's gonna be different, right?
Yeah. So the Forever 21 is a very public, using something for a very public use and even profiting off of it. Whereas using something like making a deep fake that only you yourself have, that only you yourself use, that nobody else is going to have, is very different.
Okay, so to you guys, if the person developed this completely in their computer, away from all eyes, whatever, nobody else is ever going to find out about this, it would be okay.
Yeah, as long as nobody else knows about it or is aware of it. I kind of view it the same way as like the dude who like draws hentai of girls he likes or something. Like, it's weird, but I don't think it's necessarily wrong unless you start telling those girls that what you're doing, essentially. Or telling friends.
This is going to sound completely out of left field, but I'm honestly just curious. Do you feel similarly about somebody who draws like super like photorealistic child porn or something like that? But they keep it to themselves. They're not like bringing that outside or anything.
I think that no, I don't feel the same way about that. I feel like you're encouraging somebody to partake in something bad, I guess.
Well, but
No.
how do you not walk right into a trap when you say that, though?
Like, what do you mean?
If CGI child porn encourages people to go rape kids, how does CGI deepfakes not encourage people to go have sex with the people they're deepfaking?
I don't know if it's encouraging people to go rape people, but I think it's wrong to do that, period, right? I think it's wrong to do that, period, because, those people are incapable of consenting, and
Well, there's nobody consenting. It's just an image, right?
Yeah, but I don't know. I feel like as adults, we kind of expect our images to even be out there. We post our images out on social media all the time, right? I think that there's a difference there.
Wait, I don't know what the difference is. If you do a CGI picture of a kid, there's nobody being hurt. And the person wants to jerk off to it.
But the kid has not like gone through the world and put their picture on social media and stuff like that.
Well, no, if it's a completely like CGI'd kid, I don't think. Wait, Pixie, were you talking about a deep fake of a kid, or were you talking about a?
Like, I think either one kind of works.
So if it's a picture of a kid,
I'll have to think about it. I will have to think about it for sure. Like I definitely don't like the idea of that. So it's a good point.
I don't know. I think there is something to be said about even doing these actions in private can lead to being more okay with, like, I guess, like, casually, like, sexualizing women in real life. I feel like there is a connection, but I would have to, like, think about it more or research more. Because even just consuming regular porn has an effect in your real life. So I feel like taking the steps to deepfake a person's photo onto porn is going to affect how you just visualize or talk to that person, or what actions you might take towards that person.
Maybe, but then I feel like that becomes an argument against like basically all pornographic images.
But you don't think there's a gray sliding scale here? You think it's all, because I feel like I'm not saying it's super clear where the scale is.
Well,
I'm
I
just
don't think you believe that argument is what I would say. So for instance, if I could say, let's say that I can demonstrate with 100% pure godlike scientific evidence, I'm God, and I can tell you that people jerking off to deepfakes will actually have absolutely no impact on people's views on those women changing or pursuing anything in real life. I don't think that would move your argument at all. I don't think you'd feel any differently about it. So that's why I feel like this is a non-point.
I don't know. I think it's because I view it very similarly to the like nude example, or the, oh, you took a photo of the mannequin instead of like an actual lady. Because it's I think like there is something with the intentionality.
Well, but that's way different, because taking the picture of the mannequin, you tried to take a picture of the real person. Deep faking is not.
You don't think these people would jump on it if it was, or you don't think if these people had an opportunity, they would take a picture of the real person?
Yeah, but a lot of people that even don't masturbate to deepfakes probably would. I mean, yeah. There's a ton of guys that would like try to like sneak a peek of a woman like in a bathtub or a shower or a locker room. Or that's why we have different areas. Yeah, of course.
Yeah, so it seems like since they can't do that because they're not close enough to that person or whatever, this is the second best thing they're settling for.
Yeah, just like porn is the next best thing to sex. That's why people jerk off to porn, is because they can't find people to fuck sometimes.
Could I propose a situation? So let's say that somebody is really interested in a girl, but they can't get like pictures of that girl, and it's not like they would try to anyways. But they find out that the girl's twin sister is like a porn star. Is looking at the porn of the twin sister, and imagining the sister, like, is that bad?
You're saying imagining the twin sister as an actual sister?
Yeah.
I think so. I view it similarly to the way that I view okay, so you have parody porn or whatever, which is its own like little gray classification. And then you have, if you theoretically had a porn where, let's say a porn star who her whole career is trying to be as close to the streamer as possible. So she has her room set up like that streamer. She makes her hair look like that streamer. She uses the same, phrases that streamer uses, like everything as much as possible, and is producing that porn. Then I think like that's wrong, because you're essentially trying to take that image and sexualize it for yourself or whatever. That was very bad phrasing. But I think when it comes to the twin sister example, if you're viewing that as the twin you want to fuck or whatever, I do think there's something wrong there. If it just happens to be somebody who looks like the twin sister or the twin. Am I phrasing this correctly? I feel like I'm not phrasing.
Yeah, that's phrased correctly. If I like throw a spooky phrase at you, do you just not care? Because what we're talking about is essentially like, we're really talking about thought crimes here. Do you not care? Like, do you think that some thoughts like should be immoral just by virtue of only having the thought alone, or do you not?
It just, I would draw a separation between thought and actual actions. So there's a difference between just like thinking somebody is hot. And this is why I also even think the twin example doesn't completely work, because you can say like that's weird or that's not the best thought, but thoughts are more malleable, they change. Some are intrusive, some are not. But then there's a difference between that and between being like, I am actually going to take the time of my day to get this image of a person, render it like onto a porn star's face, like match the actions so I could just jerk off to it. Like, you are taking concrete physical steps in the world that go beyond the mental realm, where the mental realm is just a lot more malleable, comes and goes. You can't have nobody can have like perfect thoughts or live like a completely like morally pure.
Yeah, but I feel like you're loading on, I'm going to use the G word, gish galloping. I feel like you're loading on a bunch of arguments where none of these things you truly believe in that much. So like when you say like the thoughts are imperfect, like what about somebody with photographic memory? Would it be immoral for them to jerk off to somebody since they have a perfect recreation of that person in their head? Does that meaningfully change things for you? Or I don't think photographic memory is even real, but let's say it was. Like, would it be immoral for that person to masturbate to women?
It just maybe this is just something I have to like read more about and explain more about. But to me, there just seems to be a very stark difference between what you're thinking and versus what you're putting out there. So I think if something is staying like into the mental realm, even if it's perfect memory, whatever, to me there is a distinction or a line to be drawn there versus taking a physical act or more physical actions.
What about really
Um,
detailed fan fictions?
yeah, that's a good one.
I think really detailed fan fictions comes into a more like morally gray area as well.
Well, why is it
So
gray?
yeah, there are a lot of girls who like growing up will like be fans of boy bands and stuff, and they'll write like detailed fan fiction about their favorite characters and stuff like that. So like that could be a very good example of like somebody taking their thoughts and putting it and like expressing it in the real world, but it's still not something that goes beyond their own use.
Well, I'm
Um,
curious. Yeah, I'm curious what you mean by morally gray. Like, explore that, because it seemed like you were willing to say that scrolling through a person's Instagram looking for bikini pictures to masturbate to, that was wrong. But so if you're willing to take a stance on that, how is the detailed fanfic thing morally gray? I feel like that would be an easy like, oh, that's just wrong.
Um, I think this just goes back to the fact that our brain processes images and words differently. So, for example, when you read a book, your imagination can take control. Oh my God, so many people are calling. Okay, your imagination takes control, right? You fill in a bunch of blanks, even if you try to be the most detailed as you possibly can. Your imagination is still taking over control to some extent. That's why people can read two of the same book and then still have different images of what exactly happened versus an actual image. Your brain is just directly processing that image.
Yeah, but it's all still like, I don't see how the jump is meaningful. Like when you look at a person in a bikini, you're using your imagination there too as well, right? You're probably not imagining the person in the bikini. You're looking at them in the bikini so that you can imagine them naked.
Um, yeah, and this goes back to the fact that I think it's like a sliding scale, or that's why I'm keep like looping back to the whole. Oh yeah, like it's trying. And I feel I want to like explore this phrase more because I feel like there is something there to the whole like trying to get as close as possible. Because I think there is a level where it's like, okay, like, this is like fairly harmless. It's just like, in your imagination or you're using like the picture or whatever, but there's not that level of intentionality.
Well, yeah, careful with some of the words because the intentionality is there. It's still the same intentionality. It's just a different amount of effort being put in, right? Like, I'm a shit artist. If I wanted to draw porn of somebody, it's going to be fucking stick figures. But if somebody who's a better artist can draw a better picture, the intentionality is still exactly the same. One person is just more technologically adept than I am.
Okay, so yeah, maybe the right word is the effort to put in to have that fantasy be as realistic as possible.
I have the similar position to Pixie, but I came in to bite an even harder bullet, I think. And I don't think you should jerk off fantasizing to women. Is that your position, Pixie? Or is that more extreme?
I think that's a little bit more extreme. But I think most porn is unethical. I think the only ethical porn might be like OnlyFans or shit like that. So maybe I'm on the same boat as you, but we'll see.
Yeah, I don't think you should even jerk off.
Okay, relax. But I don't agree with pornography because that's creating a direct product, but I'll get into that in a second. The harm, Destiny, you were talking about harm. I think the harm in fantasizing about women and jerking off to them, I think is baked into the social contract. Because if we're saying that by participating in society, meaning just existing, gives people carte blanche to kind of objectify and sexualize you even in their minds, I don't think we can justify that.
I mean, I would flip.
Like policing somebody's mind, though. You can't like in that same. Just because they have the ability to do that in their head doesn't mean that we have any right to say what they can and can't do in their head.
Yeah, I would flip it, and I would say that I would live in a society where you don't have a right to dictate my thoughts.
That's.
I feel like we
I think it's okay.
We do live in a society where we kind of consider certain things like not thought crimes necessarily, but like say when people go to another culture and there's like some nice religious ceremony and it has certain meaning to them and the context for that is perceived one way, and then like people, like a bunch of white people go over and are like, ew, whoa, what weird like tribal shit. We recognize that that's like really not understanding the context and
I
it's
think
not
that-
giving appropriate respect to something.
Yeah,
so
I feel like
that's kind of.
I feel like
Yeah.
that illustrates my point exactly, though. So, like,
Yeah.
typically, like, I'm thinking of like a saying you would say to a kid is if a kid were to say something like that, you would never say like, don't think that, or that's rude to think. You would say, keep it to yourself. If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. I think that the issue that you're bringing up there, it doesn't have to do with the bad thought. It has to do with them actually expressing it, like saying something.
I think it's also the bad thought that you don't want them to go on to continue thinking that, though. Even internally, I think that's negative.
Well, yeah,
I think
but
you
careful.
want to explain why.
We careful. We're trying to talk about what's bad and what's good. In terms of do we want somebody to do something? That's a fundamentally different question. We want people to do a whole bunch of things. But in terms of is it bad to think a thought? It is bad to verbalize a negative thought about somebody. That's probably a bad thing. If I say you're ugly, we can say that's a bad thing to verbalize the thought. But is it bad to think the thought? Bad is different than, what do we want them to think? I think is fundamentally different.
I feel like thoughts generally lead to like behaviors and actions, so I think
they could be, but then again, the problem isn't the thought. The problem is the thought cultivating an action. Again, I think what you're saying there is reinforcement. I'm saying is that it's not the thought that's bad; it's that it could lead to a bad action, which is why people like Jack Thompson hunted video games for so long, or why some people don't like porn because they think it gives you bad thoughts of women, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, which is valid. That's a lot of people wrestle with those issues. What were you saying, Sejan?
I was gonna say comment real quickly that having thoughts don't necessarily dictate actions. There's like pretty good literature on this, but like even
hold on, wait. You got to expand on that way more because what you just said is either pretty true or completely and totally false. What do you mean?
Just because you have certain attitudes towards things doesn't mean that they'll manifest in reality. There's a paper on this from the 60s where like this guy drove around with his Asian friends to different hotels all across the country, and he would call ahead of time to see if they would accept non-white people in their hotels and motels, and 97% of them said that they would not accept for like non-white people in their establishment. But when they actually showed up and like booked a room, they made no comment on it. So like their attitude was we don't allow non-whites here, but their actual behavior was it's totally fine.
I think those are two completely different questions. A stated preference versus what somebody will do in an actual moment is different than like if you have certain thoughts, will they over time mold your opinions of things? I feel like, I don't know what research I could cite here. I'm going intuitively, but it must be true that if you're exposed to certain thoughts over long periods of time, eventually it's going to start to dictate the types of actions you take, right? It's like that's like the archetypical, like if you hang out on pole all day saying, jokes about Indians shitting in the street, eventually you're probably going to have like or you're going to be more receptive to shitty thoughts about like Indians or something, right? I feel like that's pretty well accepted, no?
Yeah, I mean,
it needs a little bit more, is what I'm saying.
Well, at the very least, it primes you.
Yeah, it primes you, and that's why I think thought policing is different here. I think it's okay to think whatever you want, right? But when you are intentionally trying to like conjure up an image of somebody in order to arouse yourself sexually, I think that there's so much intentionality there that we can start policing that a little bit socially, not like through any physical body, but socially we can.
So is your entire argument predicated on the idea that eventually these thoughts are going to take hold into something worse then, or?
The harm here, I think, is baked into the social contract. I don't think we want to have like people participate in a society where just by existing in it, you give other people carte blanche to sexually and objectify you, sexualize and objectify you in their minds.
Okay, I disagree with that, but yeah, who else wants to jump in? Because I feel like that it's going to be what Stardust said. The opposite end of that is going to be society. We accept that people might believe thoughts that you really don't like or think things you don't like, but like you have to live with that. That's part of being in society. I don't know if part of our social contract is you don't have the right to think thoughts about me that I don't want you to think.
Yeah, especially if we think about like involuntary thoughts, right? Like how many people have involuntary
Well,
thoughts?
Involuntary thoughts is boring. Nobody cares about it. If you have an involuntary thought, nobody's going to hold you responsible for that, right? I think.
But to me, this is
about
like
you can
thinking
fantasize about someone by accident, I think.
Well, but nobody would care about that. No, people say whatever. That's a whatever thing. We're talking about like the intentional thoughts, I think. Yeah. If you're going to hold somebody responsible for things that just pop into their head, that's dumb. No, that's, yeah.
Why should you be able to have explicitly like sexual thoughts about somebody that doesn't present themselves in that way?
I think the default should be anything. You can think about anything you want, and it's the onus on somebody else to say why you shouldn't be able to think about a thing. You should be able to imagine whatever you want, and if you shouldn't be allowed to, somebody else should have to say, right? Because if we have the domain of anything, it should be of things in our mind, right?
I agree.
So the question would have to be like, why shouldn't you be allowed to think sexually about people?
It just seems to me, I feel like we're kind of like getting a little bit off track, because the whole idea is like, oh yeah, like if it's just a fantasy, but it's not just a fantasy. That's a problem. People are taking like steps, like realistic steps to make it. I guess you're saying, oh, a realistic fantasy, but it seems like there's a little bit more going on here than just a realistic fantasy, because you're literally trying to. I keep repeating the same phrase, so I'll just stop. But
what
like,
if it's not realistic? What if it's like, what if it maybe it looks like you know, like it's a deep fake, but parts of it are just like completely out of the like realm of possibility with physics.
Honestly, I would feel so much more comfortable with that if somebody deepfaked my face
was like
onto like furry porn, whatever thing.
Well, not like that. What I'm saying is like, for example, they do a deep fake of you, right? And it looks like a naked human body, but it's like a naked human body contorted into a completely impossible shape.
I'm not sure. I feel like the human aspect kind of makes that a little weird. But I think if somebody did a deep fake of me, but it was like a dragon or something that was,
I don't know if you guys want to wait.
that'd
His
be okay.
stream got fucked up.
What? No, it's just YouTube blips for some regions sometimes. I don't know why. It was just.
Oh, sorry. It was fucked up for me too.
Fucking loser.
I think that's bad because like your face is like 80% of your body in terms of like what we actually kind of like value. Like if you lined up 10 people and and they all looked like one of your friends, and your friend was in the lineup, you can probably pick out your friend just by their face most of the time. But if it was like their face was blocked out, it was just their body, I don't think you could reliably pick out your friend from that lineup. I think the face is so important to our conception of like what a person is physically.
Steve could. He can tell a titty size.
What the fuck?
I don't know. I'm sorry.
Okay, what if it's somebody makes somebody makes like an AI porn completely generated, but it looks like somebody that they know. Like even the face is generated, but they make it look like somebody they know.
I think intentionality there is what matters, right? If you're starting to label it as the other person. But if it's completely randomly generated, I think that's fine. No?
Yeah, it's a difference between like a porn star that happens to look like a streamer and a porn star that is purposely trying to be a streamer or trying to look like a specific streamer. There's a difference between like, oh, coincidence, it like looks like someone I know, and oh no, I'm gonna try to make it close as possible to look like someone I know.
And I think also perception of that distinction, knowing that that people will see it and know that it's not you. Know that there's a distinct difference.
I don't know that I don't know if I explained it properly. But it would look just like the person. The only difference is that you didn't take their face and deep fake it onto somebody's body.
So you're not taking the information from an image, but where are you taking it from?
You're generating it through some program or something like that.
Are you saying what if you randomly generated like a porn image and it happened to look like someone else? Is that what you're saying?
Not randomly. Like let's say you have the ability to make like a face on a porn image, and you purposely make it look as much like somebody else. It's not like the same as taking somebody's face and pasting it, but you're still like aiming for a specific look.
It is like the same thing with extra steps, though, right?
Yeah, I mean, essentially.
Yeah.
Cool, we're in agreement. We did it.
What's your fastest time now, Moot?
At 53 minutes, but I've just been getting unlucky, man.
Damn, that sounds pretty unlucky. What else? What other thoughts do we have in here, guys?
I have one.
Come on, guys, produce it.
I do have one last. I guess Did we come to a decision on the twin thing, whether that was okay?
One thing is weird, and I was thinking about this literally on the car drive home yesterday. Is like when you're a twin, you don't really own your own image, right? You share an image with someone else. In terms of your physical features, like you can present your physical features differently than your twin, but you don't. You're like your genetic material that dictates your image is literally the same.
Yeah, but I think twins still see themselves as distinctly separate people.
I agree. They are different people, but we are greater than the physical summation of our parts. But they share those physical parts.
You have a twin and you're identical, and one of them makes an OnlyFans and starts selling. Should the other get payment?
I
I
don't know.
think morally, that's like a decision they kind of.
No,
That's
the answer
really hard.
is
No, wait,
obviously
hold on.
the answer is obviously no. Because even though a twin might share genetic material and even have a similar body, they distinctly have their own identity.
Oh, that is true. However, if the other twin is a like celebrity and they're impersonating them, then now we're getting back into like deepfake stuff.
So just to like go back, I think you guys were talking about porn stars who purposely look alike or will look like specific actors or specific public figures. In some sense, like, is that okay? And how does that compare to the twin argument?
I feel like we're just like kind of looping again because it's not okay because you're again using somebody's image for your like basically self-profit. It's not really your image. You're trying to take somebody else's.
I
Twins
think
can't make porn.
I think the only exception to this rule is if like you were both portraying some sort of like fictional character, and that fictional character has like physical traits that are described in the text, or in some abstract way.
Well, yeah, then you're not trying to imitate another person. You're trying to imitate like a character, like somebody who's complete fiction. What's your take, Mr. Newton?
I don't even know what you guys are talking about.
Do you think creating deepfake porn is ethical?
I don't care.
Wow, brave. What a brave take, Mooten. Nice job. Tell us what else you don't care about. That nurses aren't heroes?
Yeah, I don't care about that either.
Nice. Good one.
Nurses.
Wow.
You don't care right now, but what if you have a daughter in the future? Don't you want to sort this out right now?
Ooh.
Nope.
Wow.
Really? Why not?
Why do I give a fuck?
If someone like creates deepfake porn of your daughter in the future?
Don't care. That's a future Mooten problem. It's not a right now problem. Deepfake porn is like weird if you're creating it of your friends, but I don't think like it's like a big fucking deal. I don't know. People go online to talk about and argue about things that just happens so little that I just really don't give a fuck. It's not a big deal.
But it might
It's
be
weird.
something that happens more frequently in the future, right?
Cool.
I think all of this is in the context of what's going to matter in the future. Like if we have AI bots like imitating more and more of us, I think we're going to have bigger problems, and it's better to be proactive about them.
I feel like maybe this goes to entitlement, and maybe that's my biggest problem when it comes to creating the deepfake. It's that I feel like people feel as entitled as possibly can to get as close to the real thing instead of just saying like, okay, no, I'll just keep it in my fantasy, or I'll just keep it in my head. It's okay, no, I feel like I should get the most realistic version of this as possible and close to reality as I can. And, you know, if I could do it, I would take just the naked photos of her. I would take them myself, but I can't do that. So we're going to go to this instead.
Yeah, but I think that entitlement argument, any argument like that is always going to cut both ways. To where it's like you feel entitled to me having a fantasy in my mind, or you feel entitled to me thinking personal thoughts or whatever, but...
Yeah,
you don't know what my problem is? Half the time when I cut in here, it just sounds like a bunch of AI talking to each other. Someone says something, another person responds in just completely unintelligible, absolute nonsense, and just like is throwing like point after point out.
Yeah, give us an example. What was something that said that was nonsense? Go ahead.
They said, or
something that was said. Yeah, what's something that was said that was nonsense in here? Let's hear it, Mooten.
Yeah, I want to know
I
too,
didn't.
Moon.
Let's
I
go.
didn't
Let's give us one
get it ready.
example.
Hey! I didn't get it ready. Hey, let me cook. Hold on. I'll get you an example tomorrow when I'm listening. Okay, I promise. I can give an example. When Rage Pope came in and he started accusing
Somebody who's not even here. Okay.
Did I say this time?
I mean,
That's the
good example.
implication. Yeah.
No. The implication is almost every time.
Oh,
I
okay.
didn't
So
say
it
this
wasn't
time.
happening at all this time. You thought this
Last
conversation
time
was really good.
Last time I was in here, Rage Pope came in and he started accusing the Piss Cup guy that he said something that he absolutely didn't. Rage Pope just came in for fucking dunks. Okay.
Yeah. Wow.
That's a true. True? Do you remember that, Steve? Or do you
Mr.
not?
Mooten, it sounds like you came in here just for dunks. You just came in here to shit on some people and, just...
I came in. Yeah, I did.
Just shit
Yes.
on them and get out.
Yes, I did. Yes, I did.
Wow.
I did.
Here's something I'm curious about. Pixie,
Yeah?
have you heard of Fat Mel?
No.
Okay, people started photoshopping a lot of pictures of Melina just being fat. And they were funny, and it was like a funny thing in the community. But like, let's say that she didn't like that. Do you think it would be unethical to make those types of drawings, like parody drawings of people, if they didn't want to be drawn that way?
That's a good question. I feel like if you this is gonna sound so arbitrary to you guys, but it's honestly what I think. I think if you're gonna make a parody of someone, it should be based on some sort of like internal characteristic they have than just like external. I know that sounds really weird, but to me it's like, okay, like making and maybe it goes back to the fact that like body disorders are, I don't say super common, but pretty prevalent. There's a difference between making fun of somebody for some of the stupid shit they've said and then making fun of somebody for exaggerated features of how they look. Or maybe you guys just disagree with me and don't think there's a difference. But yeah, I think if Melina was like, hey, like these photos are like causing me like a lot of like mental damage, not just mental damage, like they're like physically like jarring or whatever, then people should stop it. But I feel like when it comes to personal characteristics of like who you are or like things that you say, then you shouldn't be immune from criticism in that way because that's part of personal growth. While when it comes to physical features, that's a lot harder to change.
Why is your
whether
wait, real quick, Pixie, your mic is fucked. I don't know what you're talking about right now, but okay, sorry. What is Art by Pet? What do you want to say?
Oh, regardless of whether it ends up like being perceived as funny because it's like not that impactful, if the intent like is to bully, like we know bullying isn't great.
True.
Do you believe that we should be in full control of the inputs we put into the world?
Of what? Of ourselves?
Yeah.
That'd be nice, but probably not.
It's not realistic.
It doesn't matter if it's like realistic.
I don't even know if it should
try?
be. Like, what if somebody wants to put out like a thing that's false, for instance? Like, I'm sure there's a very racist person that would want to convince the whole world that they're not racist, right? Should they have?
Yeah.
Should they have the right to do
Wait,
that?
weren't we just talking about Fat Mel?
They should have the right to do that. No.
What's wrong with Fat Mel?
Well, I know. We just jumped. We did it. We did the AI thing. We just did it right there.
Well, we're just we're nibbling around the edges to see where people's feelings are.
No, it was just there. It just happened. Don't make me sound crazy.
But this is related.
Are you okay, Mooten?
No, because I don't understand. You guys use such huge words and you say nothing. That's the issue. Is I listen, and I'm the average viewer. Okay, I dropped out of college, but I got some college in me. But you guys will go on a tangent for like 5 minutes in something that you could have said in about 4 seconds.
That's so deep. King.
That's my problem.
That's
my problem. That's it. That's my whole issue.
That was
I just want
so
people to be more concise.
Deep, King. Okay.
I just want people to be more concise.
You are.
I'm not even trying. Steve agrees with me.
You're
He's
king.
Trolling, but he does agree
trolling.
with me.
You're our king.
No, he does. He knows.
That
You
was
agree with
kingly.
me.
That was a kingly statement.
No, it was not kingly.
It was kingly.
I just want people to be more concise because
I
dumb.
understand.
I
Mooten,
admit it.
I want
I'm
you
the
to lead
dumbest
us.
King in the room.
Mooten, lead us then. Go ahead. Dictate
Okay.
some thoughts to us. What do you think?
Okay, well, what about the twins thing? I think that's an interesting one. Should the other twin get a piece of the OnlyFans? It's their body. It's their look.
Wow.
No? Can you
No,
give me
because
a
they're
quick
not
insight?
impersonating
their
another
labor.
Who put
person.
the work in? Who put the work in to make the porn?
Yeah. Wow, Mooten.
Work?
Work. Oh,
Yeah.
you think porn is work now?
No, I was
So
So the other twin shouldn't get anything, but should the twin get a say if the sister could get or a sister or brother could have an OnlyFans because it's technically their identical body?
I mean, I I think that they have a right to feel weird, but I don't know if like there's a moral thing there that they have a right to.
If they have a right to that, Mutin.
Mm-hmm.
You ready?
Could they have a right to someone saying like who they can fuck? Is that where you're going with it or no?
Close. If
Okay.
I have a right to your profits because we have the same body, do I have a right to fuck your girlfriend?
Probably not. No.
Why?
But
It's
I
the same
probably
body.
wouldn't. But I'm probably not on the same side of they should have the right to the money.
Oh, so you just asked that question to shitpost.
Well, I thought it was an interesting question. I was curious if anybody had a differing opinion.
Wow, you just
I
did the
think
AI
if-
thing. Wow.
Because I think Sejin said that.
Mhm.
It was because Sejin said something, and I was like, oh, well, does Sejin
Yeah, I
believe
said
this?
something earlier.
Yeah.
I was considering it, but now I think I reconciled that you should not get the money unless you're only getting that money because you look like the other person. Like if Jennifer Lawrence had a twin sister and started doing OnlyFans and like people knew it was Jennifer Lawrence's sister and it was only popular and we knew it was only popular because of Jennifer Lawrence's body, then yeah, then now we're getting to territory where I think you can make an argument that she should get the money for it.
But she's putting in
Yeah,
the
I feel
work.
like that's like getting into like intellectual property kind of thing, where when you have a brand and things like that, or you work for a studio, I think it gets like into like weird legal stuff there.
You disagree with that, Moot?
Give me your take in 8 words or less.
Okay. Ask the question, and then I'll give you an 8-word response or less.
8
Okay.
words? What an arbitrary fucking number.
Sure, just give me a quick one, okay? Give me a quick response.
Okay.
Should Jennifer Lawrence's theoretical sister have to give Jennifer Lawrence money if Jennifer Lawrence's sister starts an OnlyFans?
Only if she's getting that money because she is Jennifer Lawrence's sister.
How do you prove that?
I think it's really hard to prove that, but I think intuitively we can tell if it's like she's like a $2 million in 1 month OnlyFans model, then yeah, for sure.
Oh, so J-Lo's sister couldn't be pretty enough without looking like J-Lo? Okay.
Not $2 million worth, no.
Wow.
I'm sure there are plenty of porn
This is-
actresses who don't make that much money who look just like popular actors and actresses.
Well, we're just going back to intentionality. By the way, is
Yeah.
my microphone fixed?
Better, yeah.
Okay. So it's the whole idea that just happening to look like someone versus, oh yeah, I'm gonna bring my whole marketing team, or my whole marketing is based around the fact that I look like this person.
All right, now let me cook here. No, don't let me cook there.
No, go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
I
I'm sure it was about to be
did.
an amazing contribution.
No. So, okay, well, let's do it this way then. Let's
Uh-oh.
say Jennifer Lawrence's sister starts getting casted in B-tier movies, right? Should Jennifer Lawrence get a profit? Because her sister, no. Now, no.
Now,
I mean,
no.
I said no to the previous one too. So
But wait, why now?
Oh,
no?
wait, hold on.
Sejin?
I think
She's getting the roles theoretically.
she's
because
getting
she
the
looks
roles
like Jennifer Lawrence.
entirely because she looks like Jennifer Lawrence.
Well, we can't know that, but
Oh, fuck. Morally, I think a little bit. But I think less than the OnlyFans things. Because now she's doing a performance. She's providing a service that is, like, unique to her. Because we're tapping into different parts of the essence now. Like, because you're not your physical body. But on OnlyFans, you're arguably, like, 90% just your physical body. But on, like, movies and stuff like that, there's so much more
I
involved.
don't think that's even
What
true.
about
I think on
typecasting?
OnlyFans though, isn't a lot of like the appeal like the actual interactions with the people like in DMs and stuff?
If that's the case, then I would back down on my OnlyFans claim. I don't
So,
know.
yeah. Oh, couldn't we talk about this in terms of like typecasting in Hollywood? Like it's not quite the same as like somebody getting a job because they look like Jennifer Lawrence or they're Jennifer Lawrence's sister and they look enough like her. But they, Hollywood is known for typecasting and having specific looking people in specific roles, right? Is the original person who pioneered that role now entitled to anybody who gets typecast into that same role?
I think they deserve credit in terms of pioneering that role, and I think that's a form of giving them value for that.
Fuck, who are the two guys who look super similar? It's like the Harry Potter guy and then like the Frodo dude. Does anyone know what their names
Elijah
are?
Wood and Daniel Radcliffe.
Oh yeah, that was it. That was my thing. So can you restate that, Stardust?
Yeah. So typecasting, like in Hollywood.
Wait, these two guys look incredibly similar?
I don't think
Shut
so,
your
yeah.
mouth.
Wait, what? Did I just miss that?
Shut your
People
ass
do
up.
confuse them though, yeah.
It's like
They
a
do.
meme.
They get confused.
So it's kind of like typecasting in Hollywood, or even typecasting in like the music industry, where you'll have certain people who look a certain way will be typecast into specific roles in specific movies. And so does that mean the person who pioneered that role initially, who was the first one to do that role, is entitled to the profits of somebody who comes after them and gets typecast into a similar role?
So here's an example then. Does the first little person in like a serious role, should they be given more money for like other people who go into that serious role, other like little people who like come in after that? Would that be like an example that you would go with?
Yeah,
or no?
let's say there's like a trope or something of like let's say that Tyrion Lannister ends up being like a trope that is commonly occurring in a bunch of different
fantasy movies. Yeah.
Yeah. And he's the first one. Is everybody is it the case that he is entitled to money?
Absolutely not.
There's a difference between fictional characters and real people. So like there's a difference.
But real people made those characters, right? Real people played the role to make those characters come to life on screen.
That doesn't matter because we know those characters are fictional. We're not talking about like the actual.
Then why does it matter if Jennifer Lawrence's sister has an OnlyFans then?
Because they're not claiming to be the character Jennifer Lawrence. They're trying to get as close as Jennifer Lawrence as possible. They're imitating
That's not true.
Personhood.
Yeah, wait, like what
that's what you're projecting on the person or on Jennifer Lawrence's fictional sister, right?
Well, if we're saying in this scenario, Jennifer Lawrence's sister is doing this, her whole marketing is the fact that she's, close to Jennifer Lawrence. She looks like Jennifer Lawrence, et cetera, et cetera. If Jennifer Lawrence's sister just happened to make porn, to me, that would be fine. But if Jennifer Lawrence's sister is basing her whole essence of porn around the fact that it's like Jennifer Lawrence, that's where it's different.
So if Jennifer Lawrence's sister, for all the dumb people in chat, came out and said, hey guys, if you want to see Jennifer Lawrence naked, subscribe to my OnlyFans, that would be a problem. However, if Jennifer Lawrence's sister just started an OnlyFans and didn't say anything about it, but just had an OnlyFans, promoted it normally, everyone would be cool with it. That is what is being touted, everyone?
A little bit more to intentionality there. I mean, like, if we could, in the world, know that she was only doing it because she looks like Jennifer Lawrence, even if she doesn't say it explicitly, then we're back in the on Jennifer Lawrence's sister, come subscribe boat.
Yeah, that's kind of the point I was trying to make with the typecast example, right? It may not be explicitly stated, but you're going for a look, you're going for a vibe that somebody else already created.
And I think you deserve, like, the person that like the first rootin' tootin' cowboy that was cool on screen deserves credit for that, for all the following cowboys, because he pioneered that role.
I don't think so.
So
no.
weird. Yeah, no.
Really?
That's such a weird reality to live in.
Do I get credit for being the godfather of streaming? Sorry,
No, it just goes back, at least maybe you guys don't see a difference, but to me it just goes back to the fact that one is a character and then the other one is like a real person.
Yeah, but the OnlyFans person is a character too, right? They're playing the character of a fictional Jennifer Lawrence that has an OnlyFans.
But they're trying to play
Equable.
a character
Thanks for the summer, buddy.
Jennifer Lawrence. Like, they're not. It's not a whole.
Not a real Jennifer. It's like a fictional one that has an OnlyFans.
Well, we're going back to what is it? If I understand what you're saying correctly, we're just going back to the whole idea that, like, oh, well, technically everybody in streamer or online space is playing a character, and it's like, I don't think that's necessarily true. I think even actors, I don't think actors are acting all the time. I think actors do show their real life or their real selves often in the red carpet or in award ceremonies or whatever. So I feel like it's not very fair to be like, oh no, that's just another type of character. I think there is something that relates more to their real life, day-to-day circumstances than versus when they're simply on the screen.
I like to hammer
I feel
shit
like
down.
I have
So
a scenario. Like,
oh, go ahead.
okay, go ahead. Okay. If
Okay.
there's like, if there was somebody who punched a celebrity and got like super famous and got on a whole bunch of talk shows and then launched their acting career just because they got into a tiff with a celebrity, they're not going to owe royalties to that celebrity for starting their career, even though they are the like reason that they have a career. But
I'm not
if they
saying
started
owing
like,
royalties, but there's other forms of credit we can give people.
oh, okay, I guess so. But yeah, but then if they started marketing like t-shirts or selling a bunch of shit that was like, oh yeah, with the celebrity's face on it, then that's using the other person to sell stuff directly. I feel like that's kind of a very obvious distinction, and it's getting murky with these other ones, but it's still the same distinction.
I just want to go down the line now because I like to hammer my points down. Do we all agree then that as long as Jennifer Lawrence's sister, fictional sister, doesn't mention her at all in her OnlyFans, that it's totally fine for her to get all of the profits? Steve? You first.
Duh.
Okay. Pep star?
I love women.
A what? Sorry. My cat was bothering me. I missed it.
No, it's okay. As long as Jennifer Lawrence's fictional sister doesn't mention Jennifer Lawrence at all on her OnlyFans, she should get all of her profits and Jennifer Lawrence is owed nothing. Do you agree with that statement?
Yeah, if she's just like, I'm Jackie Lawrence, I'm a porn star, that's fine.
Yeah.
If she's using Jennifer Lawrence's name on her branding, I feel like that's where it's not fine.
Okay. What about you, Pixie? You agree?
Same.
Sejun?
Dude, I'm split on this one.
Okay, let's pause there. What's the problem?
Yeah, what is the problem?
Because there's so much investment on Jennifer Lawrence's behalf on that image.
Sure, is that her sister's fault though? What could her sister have done, possibly?
I'm trying to think if there's a way around this. Go Stardust. Let me keep thinking.
Okay. Stardust, do you agree with
my God.
original
Yeah,
statement?
I agree with your statement.
Okay. So we're just waiting on Sejun to get on.
Do you know what an interesting real life analog to this is? A little bit. It's not quite the same, but Barack Obama's brother. Did you ever follow this weird fucking dude?
Didn't he write like a book?
I don't know if he
I don't
wrote a
remember.
book, but he was a guy that obviously was insanely capitalizing on Barack Obama's name and him being president, but he was a fucking weird loser
Is this
dipshit.
like the big Twitter guy?
I think he was on Twitter. Does
On
anybody know who
Twitter?
I'm talking about? Wait, is his name
Malik
like
Obama.
Harik or it started with like an H or something, or Hakeem or something? I don't remember. But Malik. Oh, Malik. Yeah.
Malik, yeah.
Malik Obama.
What was he doing?
I don't know. Wasn't he like? Didn't he just like tweet like stupid conservative shit all the time, or he was like hypercritical of Obama all the time?
What's the like the problem there, or what's like the?
I don't know. He was basically
analogy?
trading on Obama's image. Like the only reason people knew anything about this guy was because he was Obama's brother, and then he just used that kind of like image of being Obama's brother to just shit on him constantly. I guess it's not the same because it's his brother instead of like him himself. But that was like nobody would know who this guy was or care about him. He was completely irrelevant. Didn't he say Obama was born in Kenya? Maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Wait, is it, I still don't know if that was his actual brother or not. Was it, or was it a fucking troll?
It's his half brother, yeah.
Oh, okay.
We could look at impersonators, right? People who get famous because they can impersonate a public figure really well.
All right, well, hold on. We're waiting on Sejun. Sejun, have you come to your point yet?
Dude, I'm so split on this. Let me.
I don't
talk this
understand how
out,
you're
maybe.
split on this.
Yeah,
though.
how the fuck are you split on this? You cooked
Because
fuck.
they share the DNA. They don't.
Why does the
own-
DNA matter here to you? I don't think the DNA matters.
I'm gonna put on pants. Keep going.
Because your physical body is different from your physical, like your not your
soul.
physical self, but yourself. Yeah, it's different from yourself. And if you don't own your physical body's image because you're sharing it with someone else, can you really profit off of it when someone else does all the groundwork for you to market
Why do you
it,
think you
bring
don't
it to
own
market?
your physical body?
Because you're sharing the DNA. No, not you own your physical body, but you don't. When you are a twin, you don't own your physical body's image because that's shared between you and your twin. I'm separating the two things.
What's up, Lewis? I saw your video. I love you, buddy. Thank you so much. I don't know if I buy that. Like you don't think you could have an image and likeness that you could like copyright or trademark or anything like that?
Sorry, repeat that.
You don't think you can have like an image or likeness that you could sell to other people just because you have a twin?
That's what I'm thinking about.
Well, the answer, it has to be yes. Of course you can, right? When I enter contracts with people, I can sign away parts of my likeness for advertising. If I had a twin, would I not be able to sign those contracts?
I think legally, you can't enforce anything like this, but morally, I think your twin should have some sort of say in that.
Really? Wow. Yikes.
If you're selling specifically only the rights to your physical body's image.
Isn't that like a violation of autonomy though? Like you're just because you look like somebody else, now you're beholden to what they think you
Yeah,
can
like
do.
all your actions are limited by that.
Jesus. He doesn't think twins are human, basically.
Yeah. Damn, Sejin.
Yikes.
You're a twin, you're not a human from Sejin. Heard it from him.
It's
himself.
weird. Like, this is such a weird case because you are... Hold on, let me think about this. What if there was one person like that was born in 1950 and then someone in like 2050 had identical DNA, but they were born in different time periods. It was just a huge coincidence.
I don't know what your question is.
Then I wouldn't agree
I don't know
with
what
this.
the fuck your question is, bro.
Oh,
So,
he's
like-
trying to say like they're not twins. They just happen to be born with the same DNA, so they happen to look
I mean,
exactly
well,
the
we've
same.
got doppelgangers, right?
Yeah,
In which-
I was gonna say there's like plenty of examples of this in real life already.
Yeah, but
and
but
there's-
100% is really really high threshold, and that's why I have trouble with it. But if that's the case, then I would have no issue with one trading off of the image of the other.
Wow.
So yeah, okay, I'm back.
We've got, like,
I agree now.
So you're on the train then.
I'm on the train.
That as long as they're not like saying, "Oh, like come see Jennifer Lawrence naked on my OnlyFans. I'm her identical twin sister." That it's totally fine that she profits 100%, and Jennifer Lawrence is owed nothing. You agree with that then, yeah?
Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, so we're all on board there. Now, what if she does the opposite and says, "I'm Jennifer Lawrence's sister. If you want to see her naked, come check it out." Destiny, you think that's bad? Or should she be able to do that?
I think you should be able to do that.
Okay.
Mhm.
Pepstar?
I don't really have like a super strong opinion on it morally, but I feel like legally there would be grounds to.
Fuck it, we're only
get-
asking morals here.
Oh, well, fuck, man. I don't know. I feel like it's kind of scummy, but
Don't care about scummy. We want to know if it's right or wrong.
I think it's probably wrong. Probably, yeah, I'll lean towards wrong.
Okay,
I'm fine
Pixie?
with it.
I think it's wrong. I think you shouldn't do that. You shouldn't base your whole porn acting career on the fact that people want to like fuck your sister and basically like exploit her image in that way.
It's exploiting both her and your image. But
Yeah, but it's you're putting her in there, like you're like exploiting her at the end of the day. And if you're just exploiting yourself or whatever, then we would go back to scenario one. But you're not doing that. You're purposely bringing her in.
Okay, Sejin?
Yeah, I agree that you can't. This is wrong.
Okay, and Stardust, you said you were cool with it.
Yeah, I'm cool with it. Yeah. I think it can be weird, but I think I'm cool with it.
I would say it's probably pretty bad. That'd be my feeling. Because she's exploiting her OnlyFans at that point, 100% based on her sister and her work. So I would say that her sister should get a cut.
How would you judge it if you didn't know if she was doing it on purpose?
Then the sister gets nothing.
Really? So it's only
If
if
somebody's
it's explicit.
doing it.
Interesting.
No, never mind. I was about to be way more confident than I should have. Just kidding. Because I'm gonna
You
say
want
if somebody's advertising on purpose, you should know. But if somebody isn't being intentional, I actually think it gets pretty murky. The most obvious parallel to this are like you're only popular because you're dating like Ludwig, or you're only popular because you're dating Destiny, right? Like, are they? That's a really, especially if they're not like outwardly advertising it. Like, that's a really hard claim to substantiate, right? And I think people actually wrestle with that all the time, figuring out like, is this person only popular because they date a streamer, or do they have their own fan base, whatever? Like, those are really difficult questions, I think, to wrestle with most of the time.
So then Melina would owe you royalty checks? following the law.
I'm not saying royalties. I'm just saying that like it's hard to determine who's trading on something. Like let's say somebody's sister legitimately does want to get into porn, like, and they do start to grow. Like how much is due to people wanting to see the sister of some famous actress versus what the fuck? Versus just like actually seeing them as a porn star. Like who's to say, you know?
But even then, the reason why I'm bringing up like impersonators, like impersonators make their money off of being the like imitation of somebody else, right? If there's like a Trump impersonator, but I still don't think that like because he's being impersonated that he is owed profits from the
Yeah, I actually think I agree with you there. If someone's on like the street of Hollywood Boulevard hustling because they look like Michael Jackson and they're like wearing the same outfit and singing, I don't think that they're probably owing Michael Jackson any profits.
Or Elvis
so I think I am on the other side.
Yeah.
Okay, so if the sister, in my opinion now, if the sister said, hey, I'm Jennifer Lawrence's sister, if you want to see her naked, check out my OnlyFans, I actually think she doesn't deserve any money.
I don't know. I think with the whole Michael Jack, I feel like this is we're getting into murky waters again, because I feel like when it comes to that, when it comes to the Michael Jackson example, I do think that there is a performance that's being put on that is not the same performance being put on when you take naked photos. But even if there was like a porn performance being put on, you're not really impersonating Jennifer Lawrence herself, right? You're using her image to put on a more lavacious porn performance. You're not actually trying to imitate her per se. Does that make sense?
Well, let's say that she is imitating her in the OnlyFans. Let's say like she's dressing up as Katniss Everdeen and doing the scenes just naked.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's a problem then?
Oh
'Cause
my
she's being
God.
like a big on impersonator.
I was gonna ask that. I was like, what if you just add porn scenes to all the movies?
Well,
she did?
let's just make it more real world. What about not safe for work cosplays?
Oh, like do they owe like money? No, I don't think they do.
I don't think they owe any money. I
think we
really
can
don't.
Well, wait.
this up
Not
pretty
owing
easily.
money. Are they
I think
immoral? If you let's say that you have
think so.
J-Lo, she doesn't ever want to be sexualized ever, and she plays Katniss Everdeen in a movie, and somebody makes like a not safe for work cosplay of that character and tries to look like that character and her. Is that like deepfake porn basically? That's almost better
I
than
feel
deepfake
like for
porn.
like cosplays or people on like Hollywood Boulevard, there's like a knowledge that they aren't
What?
exactly like the person they're cosplaying.
Type it in chat.
They're not. What?
Sorry, never mind. Sorry, keep going.
They're not. It's not exactly representative of the person. There's still some distance there. It's like an approximation of them, basically. Whereas if it's like your literal like twin, identical twin, I feel like it's the intent behind it to see like the person that she looks like is more there than it is with.
But deepfakes are not seeing the person they look like. You guys keep saying that, but it's not. It's you know that it's not really them. It's just trying
But
to.
your brain is processing.
Talking about.
Your brain isn't making that distinction. Otherwise, you wouldn't have put the face on to begin with.
Well, sure, but then that. But if you're gonna say your brain isn't making the distinction, that's the same thing with not safe for work cosplays as well. Then no.
And
Well,
there are impersonators whose job is to get as close as possible to their subject, right?
Yeah. Wait. What Pixie? What is your response to that?
I was gonna say, again, if it comes to cosplays, most of the time it's a character. I think my stance with impersonators stay the same. If your whole, unless with the exception of parody, but the reason why is because parody, you're making fun of that person, you're adding extra features onto that person.
Wait. Axe all that. Wait, hold on. Axe all the boring shit away. Not parody. Not making fun of blah blah blah. I'm doing. Let's say somebody's doing a Katniss Everdeen cosplay, and they're trying to look as much like they can of J-Law. Okay, they want to look like her as much as they can, and they do that not safe for work cosplay. Is there something unethical happening there?
It's just there's two different things going on here. If you're trying to look as much as Jennifer Lawrence when she played Katniss Everdeen, you're not really trying to be Katniss Everdeen. You're trying to be Jennifer Lawrence when she was Katniss Everdeen. Now, if you're just doing Katniss Everdeen and that happened to look like Jennifer Lawrence because they share this similar outfit or whatever, that is different. One, you're trying to be the character. The other one, you're trying to be the person.
Is that really different?
I don't think that's different. Yeah, isn't the character and the person in like that?
Yeah, because you don't know what
significantly
Katniss.
different.
Well, hold on. Katniss Everdeen isn't a person. That thing doesn't exist. That's not a
exactly.
We can talk about that.
But
wait.
But when you're trying to look like something, you're trying to look like Jennifer Lawrence.
Well, no, because Katniss Everdeen has these features.
I'm gonna jump in here.
Okay,
let Pixie run the thought train down. Let her run the thought train down instead of 5 other people jumping in.
All right, go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay.
When you're trying to look like Katniss Everdeen, you're not trying to look like Katniss Everdeen. You're trying to look like Jennifer Lawrence's portrayal of Katniss Everdeen.
Well, Katniss Everdeen has features that everybody can take, including Jennifer Lawrence. So Katniss Everdeen has the braid, has the green shirt, has the leather pants, whatever.
On.
Yes. Let me finish. So when you cosplay as Katniss Everdeen, that is obviously going to have similarities to Jennifer Lawrence.
Okay, hold on. We're thinking of different not safe for work cosplays. I'm not thinking of the ones where you just wear the outfit, but there are people that try to like very specifically do like the contouring and wearing the wigs and stuff, not to just have the same uniform, but they try to look like the actual like actor in the movie. Like that's the goal of like some of the not safe for work things. Like a really good Yennefer or a really good Triss like Witcher 3 cosplay is not just going to be a person wearing the perfect costume. It's going to be somebody that looks very similar to those people as well.
Oh, if you're trying to look identically like Jennifer Lawrence when she's playing Katniss Everdeen, then yeah, like that's not okay to do porn content or whatever, that's not okay, in my opinion.
Okay, go, Moon.
Well, I was going to cook it up with the Batman example. I was going to say there's different iterations of Batman, right? So if you're trying to look like the, I don't know, what's his name? Who's the really famous Batman? The Dark Knight one?
Christian Bale?
Yeah, if you're trying to look like the Christian Bale Batman, you're probably exuding different features than the Ben Affleck Batman. That was my whole point there, which I was gonna get Pixie on board with.
Wait, like in the like you're just wearing different costumes, or what do you mean?
No. You go for a different look, right? So Katniss Everdeen has a very specific look because it's how Jennifer Lawrence portrayed it. Mm-hmm. But if there was more movies in the future where someone else is portraying it, they're probably going to be portraying someone else's version of Katniss Everdeen. You stupid fuck.
People in chat are saying dumb shit. I'm sorry.
You're so dumb. I
understand what you're saying, though. There are different actors that have different iterations of characters that people try to look like.
Yeah.
Yes, that's true.
And that's what it sounded like you two were getting mixed up on.
Yeah.
So then what was this whole big point about? What were we talking about with the Jennifer Lawrence
For people that try to do not safe for work cosplays.
Yeah.
I wonder if we consider that unethical when they're trying to like look like the original actor / actress or whatever.
I think it's unethical.
Wow.
I think the character and the actor or actress exist separately.
I agree. I don't think we look at Jennifer. We don't look at Katniss or Jennifer Lawrence playing Katniss. We don't look at the Hunger Games and we're like, oh, this is exactly like Jennifer Lawrence. We're like, no, that's Katniss Everdeen, who's being played by Jennifer Lawrence.
I 1,000,000% disagree.
Yeah.
No, that's just not true. I think we
really?
we very heavily associate like Luke Skywalker is Mark Hamill, like those two people. Yes. Like Harry Potter is Daniel Radcliffe. This is such a huge issue that actors that play iconic roles, I think, run into a hard time separating themselves out from those roles sometimes, where they get like captured, eaten alive by them, because we see those characters as those people, I think.
Do you think we should?
The opposite is also true, right? Like there are a bunch of different James Bonds.
Yeah?
Yeah, and so like just because someone hasn't reiterated that role, right, doesn't mean that character can't exist without that person.
Yeah, I don't think anybody disagrees.
I don't think that's what he was saying. Yeah.
Yeah, the widely consumed version of that character is what everybody is going to associate with that character.
But do you guys think that that's okay, or that should be that way? That we should really consider the character and like the actor as the same person?
I think it's that actor's portrayal of the character, but that character now is going to be so heavily tied to how the actor looks that in people's minds, when you say, oh, do you remember like the Dark Knight series, like the Batman in there, they're going to immediately think of not Batman as an abstract, they're going to think of Christian Bale and Christian Bale's face as Batman, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's true. Like when you say Batman, you think of Christian Bale, right?
Yeah.
Or when
you say Harry Potter, it's Daniel Radcliffe. It's not your version of
or
Harry
who
Potter.
Is Iron Man?
It is.
Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr.
Yes.
Also, in terms of whether it's like good or bad for us to like think of them in that way, I feel like it's kind of a double-edged sword, because we think of them that way because they do such a good job embodying that character, and people can like the better job they do doing that, the better people can connect to it. So it's kind of unfortunate. I feel like
I mean, even if they do a bad job, I think we still tend to connect the actors to it. I think we just do because like there are very few actors that disappear into roles. Who's that one guy? Is it Gary Oldman? That might be a guy that you like disappears into roles a little bit. But I think for the most part, I think we tend to see the actor like pretty hardcore.
What do you mean by that? Like, you usually see the actor. It's just not like a faceless
like Django is it Jamie Lee Fox? What's his name?
Yeah.
Who?
Yeah.
Who said that?
That was Pisco.
Why did you say who?
You said Jingo?
I said Django.
No, you just misheard.
Oh, okay, my bad.
Yeah, it was Jamie Foxx.
Yeah, like that. Like you don't think of Django as like, oh yeah, that's like he was a slave, he got broken out, he's got some. Yeah, it's like that's Jamie Lee Foxx, right? 100%.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. So then, like to round it out, is it immoral?
That's not true though. That's not true.
What's not true?
What do you mean?
Oh boy.
That's not true.
Oh boy.
Django, the character, doesn't merge with the actor completely.
There's a portrayal that somebody else could theoretically do it differently, but until that happens, I think Django is Jamie Lee Foxx, the same way that Iron Man is Robert Downey Jr.
So if you wear all the aspects to Django's costume, are you impersonating Jamie Foxx?
You're impersonating Jamie Foxx's take on Django.
Well, you could be, but I think that we can see this when people go to cosplay different characters. I think generally people feel like you've done a really good job cosplaying when you've actually cosplayed the actor cosplaying the character. So like a really good cosplay is going to be one where you look like the actor playing the character, not just where you're a perfect match of the character, because I think we associate the character with the actor so much.
But if that's true, then I'm concerned that like if we have a problem with that in the not safe for work context, I don't know how you're distinguishing parody or safe for work cosplay.
What?
If people are against it, right? If people are against not safe for work adaptations of popular characters portrayed by actors for whom the actor merges with the character, what is the distinguishing criteria for safe for work cosplay and for parodies?
Wait, I don't know when we got into safe for work versus not safe for work or anything.
Like, why is it
pulling it out now?
Like, if I wanted to impersonate Jennifer Lawrence as a parody for some kind of like, I don't know, some parody show to make, like, remember the Meet the Spartans and the Scary Movie stuff?
Yeah.
You're using Jennifer Lawrence's portrayal, whatever she looked like as Katniss Everdeen. What is the problem with that?
Oh, you're saying it seems like there's no problem with the parody there, but it becomes a problem, or Pixie would probably say it becomes problematic when you sexualize it, but it's not problematic when you're just parodying it, right?
How are you going to distinguish possibly a very gross parody, which doesn't show like any, I guess it doesn't show any sexual organ, but it is using all the aspects of the character's appearance.
Like the original intent of how the character was portrayed in the first place, going like beyond that and changing the intent with how it's like supposed to be perceived.
Yeah, the parody changes the intent to ridicule it.
Yeah.
You're ridiculing, and so, but we're okay with the parody.
Well, parody has distinguishable features than the exact person. Like, the whole point of parody is that you are exaggerating features of said person.
Same with the porn
make
adaptation.
fun of them.
No, with porn, you're explicitly creating a new level.
What do you mean a new level? Say more about that.
Like, so in parody,
actually say
like
less.
Pixie said,
I don't know what are you gonna. A new level? What are you possibly?
You're introducing a new element of that character that doesn't exist in the original.
That's true of the parody
portrayal. No, you're exaggerating in the parody.
Well, okay, hold on. This is mincing words. It's kind of the same thing, right?
No, it's not, because we as a whole, like society, have determined that like sexuality and like explicit sexuality are different.
Okay, different. Why?
Because for most people, sexuality does have a more personal component to it. It's portraying yourself and like not. There's a reason why most people don't feel comfortable being porn stars, or why they only want to have sex with people that they're intimate with, and it's because like most people as a whole do view that and feel like it's a personal act.
Have you seen The Boys?
Is that a good thing for us to view that way, though?
Well, that's a separate conversation, which I'm totally down to have, but it doesn't change the fact that right now that is the common sentimentality for the
Pixie,
general population.
can I ask you about the character? I think it's Starlight,
Yeah.
where part of the character is a commentary, I think, on sexual sexualization of certain superheroes, right? But there are a lot of people who are genuinely right doing the cosplay because they think it looks good. What do you think about that?
I think that's fine.
You're fine with very sexualized cosplays, like
I'm
sexualized
fine.
versions of Mother Teresa, sexualized versions of I don't know, some librarian from a sexualized version of Hermione Granger. Is that all okay?
Again, that's where I separate the character from the person. And I think when it comes to like these cosplays, you can kind of, I'm not saying it's completely black and white, but you can kind of determine the intentionality between just trying to be that actor and just trying to be the character as a whole. So most people who cosplay a variety of characters. They're not just basing their whole cosplay activity on just copying characters that Jennifer Lawrence has done. If somebody was doing that, then I would be like, this is kind of sketch, guys. But if somebody is just cosplaying characters as a whole and they're sexy and they happen to look like Jennifer Lawrence because she's the most popular portrayal of Katniss Everdeen, that is different than, oh, I'm going to purposely.
Hello?
Hello?
Damn.
Your mic cut out.
Wow, she ejected.
I'm not gonna lie, I got
she got
confused at the
cooked.
point that we were talking about. Can we bring it back?
Yeah, I don't get like why people are being so weird and trying to develop these thought crimes for, imagination exists, and I think that there's definitely a place for us to regulate it when it comes to identity and mistaken identity and things like that. But I don't think individuals have a right, perpetual right, to not have their images or their portrayals or whatever changed ever, right? Even for sexualized reasons. I mean, a sexual parody, I don't know, I feel like those are old as shit. And yeah, some of them are more gross and or whatever, but I think it's weird to have people here advocating, like Sejin was, like it should be problematic for you to have certain sexual dreams. That's weird.
Yeah, I agree. That's pretty weird. I think that like a Hollywood or like an actor on the street who's portraying Robert Downey Jr.'s, I don't know, fucking Iron Man or whatever. I don't think he owes Robert Downey Jr. any money, and I don't think it's like morally wrong. So I'm gonna extend it one more for the sexual stuff. I think it'd be fine if someone did an NSFW Patreon that was them doing all of Jennifer Lawrence's characters or all of like just like female characters in general in a sexual manner. I don't think that that's like super bad.
That exists too, right? Like there's like
Yeah, I don't doubt it. Yeah.
And like everything you can think about, where every animated show they have versions of that.
Yeah.
Maybe it's copyright, problems, but assume it's not a copyright issue. I think that that's going to exist.
The Iron Man example, Mutant, even though that person wouldn't owe Robert Downey Jr. any money, he does owe him credit for any money that he makes, like for the success that he created.
What does that even mean? Like he owes him credit, but he doesn't
owe
money?
Like he cannot say that like I built this character on my own and I made all this money on my own.
When has that ever been the discussion?
I don't think that person would ever say that. Yeah.
I'm saying that like even though you're not giving someone monetary compensation, like giving someone credit is another, like social compensation is just as important.
It's just as important, social compensation. So he should, like, I don't know what, make a disclaimer at the start of each of his performances or pictures and say, by the way,
there should be a recognition in society that he's only successful because on the backs of other people.
Why?
Oh wait, then we can talk about the example of, let's bring up like Tyler One's girlfriend, for example, right? Is she only successful because she's Tyler One's girlfriend?
Wow.
Can we bring this back to that?
Wow.
And the answer is probably no. However, there is inherent bonuses for being Tyler One's girlfriend. You get
and Tyler One gets credit for providing those bonuses.
So you want you want
her to start up stream every single day and be like, hey guys, like I just want to give
credit. Doesn't have to be explicit. It can be implied.
How would it be implied?
If someone said that she only is as popular as she is because she is Tyler One's girlfriend, that like there's like 10% of that statement can be true, right?
But
like she could have built 90% of her success by herself, but then we as a society should recognize that 10% of that is true.
Okay, what do you want us to fucking write a Declaration of Independence about it? Like, you want
The
us to
thing
write
is like
a law about that?
where does this end though? Like, should Steve give credit to his private school or his public school?
His
I can't remember.
parents.
His parents for like giving him a good education because that's why he's so popular, because he's like smarter and can do like constructive YouTube videos. Should he give credit to them every stream? Like, where does this end?
Steven already, like, he has already recognized that I was very lucky in the education that I got and the ability to like conduct himself on stream the way that he does because of it.
Maybe they're the
Steven
problems
owes-
with my
That is
edgy
him
rhetoric, though.
explicitly
Maybe that's
acknowledging
actually where it
that.
all comes from.
Steven owes everything to DNA and to replicating proteins. He should acknowledge that. At every
I don't think you
stream.
need to give credit, implicit or explicit, to other people. I don't think that is a part of, your own
Yeah.
legacy. I don't think that matters at all.
I think then that's so dumb because you're just ignoring parts of your upbringing and what made you what you are.
I don't
It's
think you're
it's so
ignoring it. I just don't
agnostic
think
to the
you
rest
need
of
to-
your life.
I just don't
Does
think
he-
you need to like inherently dwell on it or think about it. Like, obviously, I'm more popular, or if not only popular, because I came on Steve's stream for so many years, right? But do I need to like say that or talk about that every time I?
You
start
should
my stream?
recognize that, like, in the
Sure,
back
but
of your mind, and your
everybody,
audience.
there's other
You
things
shouldn't
I should
outright deny it
recognize,
ever.
I guess, too.
But in
yeah,
in the back of your mind, I think is different from what you were
what
saying.
you were saying, it sounded like
Yeah.
Like, when I say give credit, like, I'm talking about social norms here.
Hey, Steve, thank you.
How does that manifest it? How does that like
Yeah.
actually manifest in people? Like, do you want someone to say something? Do you want people to do things, or do you
I
just
want people to have an
think it?
understanding of
Yeah,
the
you
world.
just want listen.
Well,
you
but you
want
said
people
that
to
you didn't
think a
need
certain way.
expli-
You want people to think a
Yeah.
certain way. You want people to not think about some stuff, and you want people to not even have to say it and just think certain things about the origins of someone's success. Because you
That's
think
true. But wait, hold on. We
Stu-
all implicitly want people to think a certain way, whether you want to or not. You have your biases on how you want people to think. Yes or no?
Well, careful. When we say we want people to think a certain way, there's going to be like buckets of that, right? Like, I might say that like I want people to think a certain way, and that like I want you to
Because
not want to like
X.
murder somebody. But like in terms of think a certain way, like I want people to have a variety of opinions about like what media they like, or what food they like, or who they masturbate to. Like, yeah. So when you say like, well, we want people to think a certain way, that's true, but that's going to fall into big buckets or categories. It doesn't mean want to dictate. Wanting somebody to think a certain way doesn't dictate every single thought they have.
And I think there's another aspect to it, which is you want people to think a certain way, usually for reasons. Like, I want people to recognize that Steven or Destiny was the progenitor of Twitch politics because X. I want people to recognize that, Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor because I want him to get hired more, or I want him to, be talked about more and analyzed more, or something.
I agree with Sedgin. Every time Hassan starts his stream, he needs to thank Steve.
Based.
Yeah, I mean,
Keep
cool.
going,
I think we did
kids.
it.
You guys were all talkative earlier. What happened?
Well, the thing is what I like to nail down the points. I like to go down the list, and we figured out. And I think we figured out most of them today.
Oh,
we got
wow,
Sedgin on
really?
board.
Where did we end at, Moon?
Yeah.
Tell us what our opinion should be about everything.
Sedgin's on board that what's her name's sister should be able to do porn, and get all her money. And I think the rest of us who, are
I don't know.
are big thinkers can agree that it's fine for people to do shit on the street and not need to recognize everyone else. For
It's not about like public recognition. It's about like social norms and understanding the
You're
world.
telling people how they should feel and think. It doesn't matter. Like, it's just who cares? Who gives a fuck?
Wow.
I don't care.
I give a fuck because it determines the direction in which our society goes. If
Why?
we have a bunch of people
Why
thinking
does it
that
do
they
that?
built their entire empire on their own, we're gonna have a bunch of fucking narcissists, right?
Sure,
Trying to
we already
fucking-
have
Do you think
Everyone's
these cosplayers? Is there a problem with this? Of the cosplayers being like these Greek or Shakespearean tragedies that they think that they're the initial creator of these characters, and that they.
Adrian's gonna be in the OnlyFans comment like, you need to tweet at Jennifer Lawrence and tell her thank you for your career.
Wow, ad homs, guys. Really.
You guys are so unnecessarily aggressive.
What? Why is it aggressive?
Ew.
Like, okay, hold on. Do you do you think it's not valuable for society to recognize the things that built us to the point that we're at?
Yes, I do think that's.
Yes,
valuable.
we all agree that is valuable.
Right, and so shouldn't we want people to think that?
Yeah, I want. Yes, I. You know what? I'll say this. I want people to recognize that Robert Downey's portrayal of Iron Man was truly awesome. And I think one of the way that they recognize that is by, like, what's the most sincerest form of flattery is replication and copying someone. And I think that Robert Downey's performance, you see people doing the specific one, not just the character, and that's drawing people to his performance and reminding people about how good it was.
Sejin, I think the average person is already doing what you're saying, where we can recognize things that made us greater or things that brought us to where we are. Sure, there's going to be a few dumb fucks out there who are like, no, my cosplay, I built it all myself and it's not based on anything. But why do we care about, like, I don't know, 50 fucking people in a room of 20,000? We're on your side. We agree with you.
Yeah,
we
we
can't change some
agree.
people's minds.
I think it's important to think or to
Be back 1 sec.
express these things, right? Because if you do it publicly, right, now you are building a network in which you can judge the world better. When these things are more top of your mind, they're more present, and then therefore the good downstream effects of recognizing these things are also more present. This is called learned intuition.
I want people to
I don't think
explicitly
it.
acknowledge it more.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. I misheard.
You do. It sounds like people are supposed to explicitly acknowledge it more.
Yeah, when you disclaim that you wanted any particular
Yeah.
action done.
Yeah.
I don't think it needs to be explicitly acknowledged.
Yeah, I don't think so
Otherwise,
either,
it
but I
would be a
think that's what-
laborious task.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be very laborious. You'd have to you'd have to ask everyone to pay homage all the time.
I genuinely don't believe that this is something worth thinking about. It probably already is implicit, your acknowledgement of people or things that gave you extra, I don't know, worth.
I think
whatever.
you'll find that we're much more fickle, and that we actually have the privilege to actually have the perspective that we have.
What do you mean by that?
I think that there's an entire society in the world that doesn't acknowledge that. Not sorry. There's a significant portion of the world that doesn't recognize that they're only where they are today because of the people that came before them. Otherwise, it wouldn't be such a big trope when people recognize it. Because people will always say, "I only realized that I'm where I am today because 3 years ago, blah 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 blah," or something like that. People recognizing these things is a good thing, because there are more people than I think in the world that don't recognize this at all.
I think that the average person is willing to recognize things that made them greater. I don't think that we need to dwell clinically on what made
I
us
think the
better.
majority has to pull the minority into correct action.
Okay,
I don't think so, because the issue is that's just going to take it's not worth the time and effort. It's like a college research paper. You can bang the first 90% of it out and get a pretty good grade in I don't know, an hour or two. The issue is if you struggle with the last 5 to 10%, that you'll spend 6 hours on it. Probably it's genuinely not worth dwelling on the other 10%. Just get the 90% done, and that's good enough. And I think
This is
that's where
part
we're
of
at
the
with this topic.
conversation I was having with Steven earlier, is that we're encouraging the world to be smart but not good. And I think that's bad. I think we need to start encouraging the world to be good and not always optimize for the best outcomes.
But what do you want to see? In some sense, these portrayals, whether not safe for work or safe for work, they almost depend on you to have seen the original or be familiar with it in some way for you to even get it. What are you asking people to do with the portrayals of? And I guess you think it matters that it's a particular person's portrayal and not just a character, right? I mean, I don't think that you'd have the same kind of acknowledgement, require, desire for a comic book colored paint, like a colored depiction of a costume, right? And so I don't understand what it is you want the world to look like. What do you want people to do? And does that extend only to actors' portrayals?
Hold on, I'm kind of lost. Can you ask that question again?
What do you want people to do?
I want people to be more cognizant of the world around them and how the things that they are now became the things that they are.
Would it be better to have people do that by encouraging people to be introspective and kind of more holistic in their analysis of where they are in life, versus requiring people to acknowledge explicitly where they got help from?
I think that the latter helps the former a lot. And it doesn't have to be like every time,
But-
but like that should be something that happens when you're like, oh my god, like
Mm-hmm.
there needs to be important dialogue that you have with yourself that recognizes these things, and
I think
that should extend to other people. When you see other people not doing the thing that you're doing, you should be correcting that, and you shouldn't be denying.
I think I
that you
think
so.
I think what you're saying is not necessarily bad. The problem is I think it's very disconnected. Having people recognize that things came from other things, all that is good, but I don't think that means we have to give credit to everything every time somebody does anything. Like, I think those two things, they seem connected with that. It's like, it would be like saying every single time we watch a movie, we should do 5 push-ups. And it's like, why should we do 5 push-ups when we watch a movie? And it's like, well, I think it'd be really good to encourage health in the greater population, strength building activities, longevity, et cetera, et cetera. It's like, well, everything you just said is true, but I don't know if it's like morally wrong to not do push-ups after a movie. But I agree that we should encourage people to be healthy. I think that applies here. Like, we should encourage people to be introspective, to think about where things come from. But I don't know if with every single thing we analyze or see that we have to have like a rolling credits section for like, this guy's Iron Man performance came from Robert Downey Jr., which came from the original comic writer, which was inspired by this and that and that. It just seems like exhausting.
Yeah.
I think we lost the plot.
I don't know why people keep saying that you have to recognize that every time. I've never said that. That's literally just shit.
Well, it sounded like you were saying that like if a guy is doing like an Iron Man performance on in Times Square, he's just doing like some shit on the street. He should be saying like, here's a placard where I give thanks to Robert Downey Jr. for doing the original performance.
No,
People
I'm
did
not
ask
saying
for
that. But
examples,
when
and you gave the example of even Steven saying that like he acknowledged that where he is now is from like luck in a certain aspect. So
yeah, but it's known publicly, right? Like he's said it enough times that like he's under no delusion, and it's clear that he's under no delusion that helped him get to where he is.
Okay, do you think any of these cosplayers are under any delusion that their portrayal isn't dependent on something else?
Well, the issue is Cedrin is saying something abstract that we all agree with, and then he's saying, well, yeah, I want people to be more mindful of this, and then we're all like, okay, but like, what's the next step? And he's like, well, I don't know, I just want people to be more mindful. So now we're like stuck here in this loop of like, well, what do we do about it, Cedrin? Cedrin's like, I just want people to be more mindful about it. We've said the same thing 3 times in a row now.
Yeah, it's a loop.
We agree with you. Yeah, we're looping. Like,
I want to go back to the fact that you guys don't think a person who bases their entire livelihood off of imitating someone else shouldn't get like any compensation for that.
Why should they? Really, why should they?
Because without that person, they'd be literally nothing.
I mean, I am a lawyer, and I base my entire profession as a litigator depends on people needing to sue people.
Hold on. When you say a litigator, are you a litigator? Do you do litigation in court right now, or what do you mean by litigator?
Yeah, I do litigation in court right now.
Okay, let me see that.
And you get compensated for it.
Okay, sorry, keep going.
Yeah. I get compensated for it. The people, and hopefully my client gets compensated, but like my entire existence, my profession relies on structures and on like rule of law and people existing and things happening. And, I don't have to give royalties to the Parks Department or the people who pick up the garbage.
It's called taxes. You give back to society that helped you be here in the first place. So you do compensate that.
To that extent, right? That applies to practically everyone at all times, and so if you're talking about someone who all they do is imitate someone else, where is the entitlement to? Where's the specific entitlement to some kind of royalty above and beyond the same kind of social contract obligation that I owe to everyone else?
Because you're literally basing your entire career off that one singular person. So you have a greater duty to them than you would to random other people. Because without that person, you literally would not have a career whatsoever.
But that can be that can be true of a great many different relationships. If I'm not using some I'm hoping that you're going to say something like, well, I'm using their property, right? I'm using their intellectual property, or I'm doing something that they own and they have a legal entitlement to. Because then it would seem like your answer would in fact change if someone based 20% of their financial income on a particular portrayal. Does that change your answer? Do you have to pay a royalty? 20% is a lot.
What do you mean? We already just established earlier that there's a difference between like general characters and a specific person. If you base 20% of your income on Katniss Everdeen, who happens to look like J-Lo
Yeah.
because that's the most popular portrayal, that's different than if you base 20% on your income on just trying to be Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, let's say I based 20% of my income on trying to portray Jennifer Lawrence. Do I owe 20% of some kind of royalty equivalent to 20% of my income?
It would seem
A percentage
so.
of it?
All right, I
Why?
gotta go. I love you all. Bye.
I love you. Be careful, babe.
Bye bye.
Why? You know,
Because without Jennifer Lawrence, you wouldn't have had that 20% to begin with.
okay, but a lot of things that I receive through no work of my own, I guess, exist and are able to affect what I'm able to earn without me paying some additional royalty to the people who are responsible for it. You know, I never would have been, let's say that I'm a guitar player for a band, and I would never have been inspired to play guitar if I hadn't listened to Axis Bold as Love, the Jimi Hendrix album or something. Do I owe the estate of Jimi Hendrix money because without him I wouldn't be where I am?
There's a difference between inspiration and trying to directly copy.
Copy what though? Copy like
Copy that person.
Okay, I understand if it were a tangible work, right? Like a copyright, an interest in a particular. Although I don't know, do you agree that copyright's an important protection?
I believe in copyright, sure.
Yeah. So you think that people, if someone were to make like, let's say, a video game or something like that, that it would be, and you like stole it, right? You should have to pay that person, whoever made the video game.
Generally speaking, I don't always think theft is wrong, but if we're gonna use general rules, sure.
Okay, and what is there? There's like a tangible work, right? There's a video game that's embodied somewhere that the law recognizes that you have a legal entitlement to. I don't know that you have maybe you have a state law entitlement to your likeness for certain things, but is it going to extend as far as cosplay?
Well, we're not just saying this. We're kind of looping again because we're not just saying cosplay in general. We're saying you're trying to just imitate this one person, right? Cosplayers cosplay multiple different types of characters. If you spend your entire career just trying to cosplay Jennifer Lawrence or just trying to be her, then that's different.
Here the example is a 20% person, like, or let's say even like 5%. Someone is portraying Jennifer Lawrence, not the character Jennifer Lawrence portrays. Jennifer Lawrence for 5%, portraying Donald Trump for 5%, portraying Richard Nixon for 5%, portraying. It's a weird cosplayer is able to do all this, but they're able to do every actor that you can think of. Ryan Reynolds 5%, Emma Watson 5%. So this person has not specialized in one particular artist, and they're depending all of their income on outright imitations or very close copies of the performances of these real people. And in those cases, which performances exactly do the principals, the people who originated that initial performance, let's say, to what are they owed?
Do you want me to give you like a specific number?
Yeah. Is it only for no like the kinds of things? Is it only for sexual portrayals, or does it exist for parody? Right, the parodies can't exist without the original.
We already established that like parody is its own thing because you're like adding onto that. You're not just trying to be the person. You're trying to be an exaggeration of the person. You're adding a comedic effect to it.
Okay, if you're adding, let's say you're adding sexualization to it, you're adding a sexual portrayal to it that didn't exist in the original. Richard Nixon.
Yeah, but then we go back to the fact that like, as like earlier established, and we can argue whether it should be this way or not, but people view sexual like relationships as much more intimate and personal and private than let's say comedic.
Why does the property interest depend on that, right? I understand that people can have different interests, can value sexual encounters differently. I do understand that society generally will, right? But why does the property interest and whether or not you have an entitlement to a royalty depend on whether you're adding something with respect to a parody edition or some kind of political satire versus a sexual thing, right? Now that's all in the eye of the beholder.
Because we view sexual things as like intimate and private, and we believe that people should have some level of privacy or an expectation of privacy in their lives. That it seems like, if somebody is just trying to make their whole career being you basically and portraying you in a sexual light, it seems like they're trying to, or make an attempt on trying to infringe on that right to privacy. So that's what seemingly makes it immoral. Now, the argument of whether it should or shouldn't be, that's a different thing. But as things currently stand, that's how people view sexuality. So to me, that seems very separate than just parody, where it's making fun of someone. People don't have an expectation to not be made fun of. But people do have an expectation to have a private sexual life.
I think you're assuming quite a lot there. One is
okay, yeah.
No, what I think you're assuming is that.
Oh, I'm just waiting on these rockets to launch and these guys to debate.
I'll give you the abstract and the example. People can be bothered by different things with respect to their portrayals or copies, right? I think Steven had said, I would feel worse about a deepfake where I'm being dunked on by Vosh than I would about a sexual deepfake. Is that correct, Steven? Is he here?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. Yeah. And so why, if Steven has a property interest with respect to any portrayal of anything with respect to him, why does Steven not have this version of Steven that cares about being dunked on more than sexual portrayals? Why does he not have an entitlement to some kind of royalty, but alternate world Steven who cares about the sexual portrayal, he does, right? These are two people who both do the same thing, but they just have different values, and one has an entitlement to a royalty and the other doesn't.
No, I feel like the scenario has been changed too much, because we're not talking about whether Steven feels comfortable about being dunked or not. We're talking about someone who is literally making a shit ton of money by pretending to be Steven and creating deepfakes of
You like Castlevania music? Nope.
Right, so in both cases, wouldn't you feel like the person is entitled to a royalty?
In both cases, if there is somebody who is imitating Steven and like making money off of imitating him, not bringing basically anything unique, or I guess the unique thing is him getting dunked on or him being in porn or whatever.
Well, the unique thing would be also him having sex with Vosh. That would be a unique thing.
All of those things. What is it? I guess like the only difference is parody, we believe, is like a fair use sort of thing. But let's take any of the other scenarios where it's just making that content that a lot of people see like as humiliating. Then yeah, you owe royalties to that person. Also, I feel like there is a distinguishing factor between parody and just like trying to imitate someone, even if it's imitating them in a sexual manner.
Just because so many like idol spirits sit in the machine.
Separate the person from what they're being parodied for. Otherwise, it wouldn't be considered a parodied. So a lot of parodies have features that are like exaggerated, like, you know, facial features,
old composition
lips or nose or whatever.
Songs.
So there's a clear
I think that's true of a lot of not safe for work portrayals. I think that there's exaggerated and stylized features there. You know, there's tropes that are specific to that artistic whatever. I guess I'm assuming that you think that sexual art can't be valuable or something like that.
I think most, maybe I'm just straight up wrong here, but I think when it comes to like this deepfake situation, they're trying to make it as close to possible as to the real thing. They're trying to make it indistinguishable, which is the whole reason why they put the face on the porn star and everything. They're trying to make that line seemingly disappear. It's not like they're trying to make it a parody.
You'd have a problem whether or not it was like, you know, if it was completely different, and I think you would agree that any kind of pornographic parody of one of these movies is going to be very different than the movie itself. The similarities are going to be in the character and maybe their costume design.
Yeah,
but the scenario is going to be completely different.
The point of parody is that you're trying to make fun of something. The point of imitation is you're trying to be something.
Yeah. So are these sexual scenes that are totally out of the context of the media, the original work? Are they imitations?
Well, what is it? You can try your best to imitate that person, right? So it just comes back to what is, I guess, your intention or how clear you are in that intention. So if you're trying to make a super realistic sex scene of Jennifer Lawrence in the Hunger Games, I would say that's different than just a parody porn Hunger Games where, you know, you happen to look like Jennifer Lawrence because the Katniss Everdeen, you know, it's so widely known. There's a difference between that and between I'm going to try to look as much as I can to Jennifer Lawrence and then make a porno out of it. And again,
I don't know.
like, I'm just repeating myself basically, but yeah, there's a difference between imitation and parody.
Okay. I guess the last thing, and then I'll stop, is let's say that you are a director and you spend $800 million
Play the
creating
Among Us
the
theme.
most elaborate and I don't know, carefully constructed sexual scene that incorporates elements not of the specific character but of the actor's portrayal of the character in a very tasteful yet explicit sexual movie. You know, it's a absolutely imitation of the actor's portrayal. It is a lot of money has been spent on it. It's not like this cheap deepfake AI thing. It was, you know, you bought prosthetics, you did everything that was required to have like a I don't know, a Christopher Nolan-esque scene. In that situation, do you think that there's something is being infringed upon, some right, some entitlement needs to be given, or some right of refusal is apparent?
Are you trying to be the character or are you trying to be
Get
the
back
person?
to Factorio. I'm waiting for these rockets to launch. They're launching. What am I supposed to do?
That's different. Because you're trying
You like
to
classical music?
more
No, I don't feel like go look at the fucking bullshit. Okay.
Yeah, let's say the actor.
Okay, if you're trying to be the actor, then no, that's not okay.
Okay, so a really, no matter how well done, if you were trying to make a Donald Trump sex parody, or
is this the end?
Sex scene, not parody, just a tasteful one. If it's really well done, or if it's really crappy, those are wrong to do.
Yeah, without the consent
of Donald Trump.
Yeah.
1, 2. Did I make this laser facility yet? I don't think I did yet.
That's it. Nice talk.
I just have like 2 more cards to do, and then that's
I don't know what everyone else. I think everyone just left when I got on. I'm pretty sleepsy.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cisco, real quick question.
Yeah.
Sure.
Roast him.
Do you think that you should be able to digitally clone someone and have that thing?
Yeah. Digitally clone them.
Digitally clone?
Yeah, digitally. You're gonna repeat the thing in a confused tone.
I don't know what you mean by that. Then.
So like, there's now, instead of Destiny, there's Destiny with a Z, and it's an AI bot that literally mimics Destiny and streams 24/7.
Yeah.
Should we allow that? Yeah. What do you think about that?
I think
Can you play
that
the Song of Storms?
Those kinds of bots should probably be allowed. Yeah. Why shouldn't they?
Because it's literally stealing Destiny's likeness and his information to create something from him entirely and profit off of it.
Wait, what do you mean? Like it's a photorealistic version of Destiny?
It's literally his stream, but instead of it being real time,
is it copying his stream? Is it
yeah,
literally
it's copying his stream?
Okay, then no, I don't think
it's
copyright. I think it's copyright infringement. If it's
well, if it's generating new content.
If it's generating new content,
if it's not playing, like instead of playing Factorio, it's playing Terraria.
Oof, this is a super hard question because I think the wrongness of it will inevitably deal with the copyright aspect to it, which is whether or not Steven himself is copyrightable. The answer is no. Steven is not copyrightable. Maybe there's a likeness thing to it, but I don't think that the likeness right extends as far as people want it to. I don't think that maybe Steven's stream setup, there's some copyrightable elements, but I don't think that, you know, the idea of looking like Steven and
too much.
Talking about issues and being funny with the chat, I don't think that that's copyrightable. Do you?
If it's all of its information is based off his Steven's
if I see music, it's gonna take me a while to fucking learn it. Okay.
100%. Not okay.
Yeah, I mean, like, there are a lot of would-be Steven clones. People who try to do things like him. And this is a really good one.
Really?
That's not using any of his audio, right? He's not using his audio files.
Well, it's using its audio files to generate new audio files. Yeah. It learned off of them.
So it's using the sound recordings of
Really?
his stream.
I'm not gonna pretend to know exactly how AI bots mimic audio.
If it's using his particular sound things, I think you could have copyright claims on those sound aspects to it, right? There's a case like Google versus Oracle. I don't know if you heard about APIs, whether they were copyrightable, where I think Google was using the same reference code headers or whatever those. Someone can different implementing code, whatever that means, but the same like reference in their API. And the question is like, if everything is different but the signal is the same,
Close enough. Okay.
is that fair use? Is it even copyrightable? I think that there could be aspects to Steven's stream that are copyrightable for sure. The actual VODs themselves are certainly copyrightable, but just the idea of looking like a small gnome and streaming and being witty, I don't think that that's copyrightable. That's just an idea.
Pisco.
Do you? You think Steven owns political streaming?
I think Steven owns his information. Oh my god, I turned into Andrew Yang.
What does he own? I mean, like, does he own Sejin? Does he own the contributor named Sejin? Does he own him?
Contributor named Sejin. No, but
No.
there's other inputs there. But if it's a Destiny bot that's literally learned everything off of him, the only input there is the code, right?
I don't know what you mean, the code. The code is literally just I don't know, a literary work, a bunch of numbers and letters written into a hard drive somewhere, right? I don't know how this all works technologically, but that's all exists somewhere. But that code produces something. The code produces the audio visual work of the stream.
Yeah, and it's pulling the code is using the data that Destiny created by being online for so long to then mix and match all that data into a new arrangement of that data.
Yeah, this is just going to get into an AI conversation. This is the AI. Yeah, this is going to ground out to AI, and I don't actually know how that tech works. I think it works. I think it's more learning than actual using. Right? That's what it's been told to me. And so if it learns like people learn, and I guess that's the big question. Wait, were you here for? You started that Pepstar, right? That was you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So that entire discussion, which revolves around how the AI is like doing its thing. If it's more like a human, then it would seem like it's more taking the idea of Steven the streamer and not taking any of his because you agree, right? He doesn't own his universe of contributors, does he?
He does own the universe of his content, which it would be used to generate the bot.
I want to know what he owns.
He owns everything he says, everything that appears on the screen.
He owns what he says?
Doesn't he, as a matter of copyright?
You own the things you say? If I say something, I own that?
You have to, right?
No, let's shortcut. Hold on, stop. I don't know why Pisco is fucking running around. Okay.
If you say something,
oh god, I'm not muted.
The vibrations.
Stop. Hold on. Jesus Christ. I don't know why we're fucking running around in these circles, Pisco, you motherfucker. Okay, if I have ownership over the things I say, at most, I could say that there is like a performance I'm giving, right? So I don't have ownership. I'm not asking for your correctness. I'm explaining to Sejin so you stop running around in fucking circles, okay? Piece of shit. So like if I give like a whole stream, I have ownership over the performance of that stream. But if I say something like oxygen has 8 electrons or 6, like I don't own that piece of information. I don't own that because I said it. I might own the performance of me saying it, like a video or a skit or something, but I don't own every piece of information I utter, right?
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Well,
if someone just copies the things that Destiny says and uses his takes, do you think that that's infringement of some kind, Sejin?
If they copy
they steal his takes.
They steal his takes. I think
no, it can't be.
If it's an AI bot, I feel like it's more stealing his brain than his takes.
Wait, what?
Or his thoughts, right?
Wait, what? My thoughts are still in my head. What do you mean?
Like, when an AI bot is trying to like generate what it's going to say, it's gonna take everything you took in the past and run it through some sort of learned logic, to spit something out the other end, right? And that learned logic is as close. It's trying to be as close to how your brain works as possible.
So do you think I
No?
should have to pay royalties to Steven if I take his take?
I think it should be illegal to. No, not that. Because the take is an idea. You can't own the concept of what he's saying, right?
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
But he can own the performance and the expression of that thing as a performance.
Yeah, but like if I just go on stream and let me and like just say the things that Destiny says and just
Word
say
for
like
word.
the underlying fact of the matter is number one, number two, Sejin, you if I just use his intonation, use his inflection, play Factorio, do you think that he has a claim against me?
No, but I think if you cloned his brain, or you literally made a physical clone of Destiny and that started streaming, then I think you would owe him something.
If I cloned him.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's essentially what an AI bot is. It's a digital clone.
Okay, I gotta
I could
go.
be wrong,
It was
though.
nice talking to you guys.
Oh,
See you
really
later,
now?
alligators.
Wow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it
good talk.
was.
Wow. Wow.